Zhou quietly went back to her old high school, feeling endlessly guilty about Xiao. Back then, the two of them were deeply in love, but her mistakes pushed both of them into a really regretful ending. Zhou thought to herself, if he had known 10 years ago that she would hurt him so badly later on, would he have even let her into his life? Everything started in the summer of 2016, when Zhou gave a speech for the whole school, swearing to give her all for the first big exam of her life. Right at that moment, Xiao, looking all rebellious, suddenly ran into the schoolyard and turned on the sprinklers to play with the other students in the fake rain. The whole scene was chaotic and loud, but also full of laughter and youthful energy. After that, he even grabbed the mic to wish all the students smooth sailing like a fish in water on their upcoming exams. Seeing that playful look, Zhou couldn't help but laugh. The teacher immediately told him to write an apology letter and called his parents to the school. Xiao just laughed it off, and then he and Zhou looked up at the clear blue summer sky, leaving behind a beautiful high school memory. Right after that, Mr. Zhao kept scolding Jiang Fan and Xiao for messing around. Jiang Fan was annoyed because the teacher had suspended Xiao but still made him go to the morning assembly. Mr. Zhao scolded them for riding a motorcycle to school, then pointed right at Xiao, reminding him that his family were people of high status. If he wanted to get his confiscated bike back, he had to rank in the top 1,000 students across the entire city, and even one rank lower wouldn't be accepted. Right then, Zhou walked by, and Mr. Zhao immediately used her as a good example, telling the two of them to learn from her because she was smart and well-behaved. Ms. Yang wondered why Zhou didn't apply to a better college. Zhou explained that her grandma was getting old, so she just wanted to go to college in the city to easily take care of her. Hearing that, Ms. Yang reminded her not to let her tutoring job affect her scholarship. Zhou nodded politely and went back to class. Ever since she was little, her family had a really hard time. Her dad passed away early, and her mom left to find a new life. Because she needed money for her grandma's medical bills, Zhou had to lie that she was 20 years old and a college student at the city's top maritime university so she could get a tutoring job. Once, after coming back from tutoring, she accidentally bumped into Xiao. Seeing Zhou dressed up so maturely and totally different from her usual self, Jiang Fan couldn't help but be curious. Zhou quickly changed her jacket and ran home with her neighbor friend, Jiang Yan, to celebrate her grandma's birthday. Living peacefully with her grandma made her feel like her life was full and complete. She only hoped that her lies would never be found out by anyone. At the Dahai motorcycle shop, Jiang Fan excitedly showed Xiao a picture of him and Zhou on the school forum. Right at that moment, Brother Ping brought over a new motorcycle. Xiao then found out that Jiang Fan's dad just rewarded him with a bike because he scored 118 points on his math test. Curious about that score, he asked for the secret and learned that there was a master who specially put together study materials. Thanks to memorizing the key points in those materials, Jiang Fan was able to get a high score. Each subject cost 50 yuan. And to make a deal, you had to go to the stationery store at the corner of the school gate and buy the latest English corner newspaper of the month. Every person could also only buy the material for one subject at a time. After hearing this, Xiao couldn't help but admire this person's way of doing business. Because if everyone got high scores, the business definitely wouldn't last long. After that, he immediately asked for the material seller's WeChat. Thanks to Jiang Yan continuing to recommend her, Zhou got another new tutoring job. She confided that as long as she passed the college entrance exam, she could openly and honestly work part-time. By then, her grandma wouldn't have to work so hard anymore, and she herself wouldn't have to keep lying or selling study materials. It turned out that the mysterious material seller for students with poor grades was actually Zhou. Right at that moment, she got a friend request from Xiao. But in Zhou's eyes, Xiao was way too dangerous, so she decided not to sell the materials to him. As for Xiao, he went back home, laid on his bed, and stared at the little hair bow he accidentally picked up when Zhou bumped into him, his mind full of thoughts. When he checked his phone, he finally realized that the mysterious material seller had refused to do business with him. The next morning, Xiao followed Jiang Fan to the newsstand to find the mysterious material seller. Just as the two of them were about to buy the 11th English corner newspaper, the boss immediately kicked them out, repeatedly claiming that this place didn't sell that kind of stuff. Checking his phone again, Jiang Fan realized the transactions had been stopped. Xiao immediately thought that the other person was doing it on purpose to target him. Seeing the material seller's profile picture, he felt it looked super familiar, so he quickly went to find the exact tree from the photo. Based on the fact that the picture was taken at night, Xiao guessed that either the person was so smart they had free time to take a walk, or they were simply right around here. Following the clues, he walked to an abandoned room and caught Zhou sitting there nodding off to sleep. By then, he was absolutely sure she was the one selling the materials. As soon as she saw Xiao holding her little bow, Zhou immediately wanted to take it back. But he refused to give it back, and even used his height advantage to corner her, teasing her about secretly running a study material business, knowing how to pick a hidden spot while making money off her classmates. He also wondered why she sold to everyone else but turned him down. Zhou answered straight up that he stood out too much, and if she made a deal with him, it would mess up her business. Xiao immediately played a trick. He pretended to throw the little bow away and took the chance to snatch one of Zhou's notebooks, then used it to force her to sell the materials to him. He even threatened to snitch on her if she didn't agree. Zhou wasn't scared at all because without proof, nobody would believe a word he said. Right at that moment, the teacher and Jiang Fan walked over. As a reflex, both of them were about to hide, but Shishao suddenly knocked over a set of desk and chair to make a noise like there was a ghost. Zhou also played along by pulling a rope to make an old cabinet fall down. That weird scene scared the teacher and Jiang Fan so much that they turned around and ran away. After everyone left, Zhou packed up her books and firmly walked away, absolutely refusing to sell the materials to Shishao. The next morning, in class, Zhou found out that her notebook was gone. Right then, Shishao walked by and even purposely made a motion like drawing about to tease her. Meanwhile, seeing that Xiao's mock exam scores suddenly shot up, Mr. Zhao started suspecting him of cheating. Right when Zhou came to see Ms. Yang, Mr. Zhao immediately asked Shishao about someone selling study materials in school, and that someone even reported that he was the guy behind it. Shishao immediately dragged Zhou into it, saying that who knows, maybe she had bought the materials too. But Mr. Zhao didn't believe it at all, because Zhou ranked second in the whole grade, so she had no reason to go by someone else's materials. After that, Shishao explained that his improving grades were all thanks to a tutor helping him out. Hearing that pretty reasonable excuse, Mr. Zhao let it slide for the time being. Walking out of the office, Shishao kept following right behind her, making Zhou super worried that her secret would be exposed. In the end, she had to agree to sell the materials to him, but for double the price and for this one time only. When she was getting ready to go home, Zhou was blocked by Luohe, who came to collect a debt. She asked for a few more days to pay, and he agreed but demanded extra money. Hearing that, Zhou immediately threatened to report him taking bribes to his higher-ups. Luohe didn't even flinch, and coldly brought up her situation again. Her dad lost his business and ran away. Her mom also left for another man, leaving the grandma and granddaughter to live all alone. He figured that being smart couldn't help her escape her current situation, so it was best to get the money ready to pay off the debt soon. The next morning, Zhou went to school and demanded Shishao give back the little bow-shaped keychain. Since he bought the materials, he kept his word and gave the item back to her. After school, Zhou took her grandma to the hospital for a checkup. Dr. Chen told her that her grandma's condition had gotten worse, and she needed to use imported medicine. Each box cost 1,500 yuan, and she had to use 2 boxes a month. Even though the financial pressure was getting bigger and bigger, she still decided to buy the medicine for her grandma. Leaving the hospital, Zhou wanted to call her mom. But the childhood memories of being coldly abandoned by her mom broke her heart. She tried to hold back her tears and made the call, but nobody picked up on the other end. After that, she went to Xiao Huan's house, but the little boy's mom had found out she lied about her age, so she decided to cancel the tutoring job. Losing her main source of income, Zhou walked and cried in total despair. But right at that moment, she unexpectedly saw her mom standing and talking to Shishao. The woman kept trying to suck up to him, but Shishao didn't care at all and quickly walked away. That scene made Zhou super panicked. She immediately chased after him to ask about the woman just now, and only breathed a sigh of relief when she found out she wasn't Xiao's mom. After that, when she learned he was about to go abroad, she asked him to meet her at the abandoned pool on Monday to talk. Right then, a plan seemed to pop into Zhou head. She secretly prepared to pull off a scam targeting Shishao. Zhou didn't expect that her mom was actually living in Xiao's house. Thinking about the plan she was about to pull off, she could only silently ask her late dad if he could forgive her for doing the wrong thing. The next morning at school, Shishao and Jiang Fan still dressed messily, not buttoning their uniforms properly, so they almost got written up in the penalty book. But Zhou let them off the hook this time. She gave the name tag back to Shishao and reminded him not to forget their evening meetup. When night came, Zhou met Shishao at the abandoned pool. She wanted to tutor him to make money and at the same time promised to keep his plan of studying abroad a secret. Not knowing if Shishao would agree or not, she even boldly threatened to expose this to the whole school. But right after she finished talking, she slipped and fell flat on the ground, making Shishao unable to hold back his laughter. After that, she sneaked into the teacher's office to look for Xiao's file and found Xiangling's phone number. Zhou immediately called her mom, but pretended to be Xiao's English teacher. She used the excuse that the college entrance exam was coming up, so she wanted to invite the parents to a meeting to discuss his academic situation and future goals with the teachers. Xiangling seemed hesitant, worrying that Xiao wouldn't like this because at that age, it's very easy to develop a rebellious attitude toward the family. Zhou immediately reassured her that she had already talked to him beforehand. Hearing that, Xiangling agreed to attend on the 25th. In the days right before the college entrance exam, most students were giving their all to study, but Jiang Fan and Shishao still acted like everything was fine, and even often came to school not wearing their uniforms. After school, Zhou immediately ran to the abandoned pool to look for Shishao. When she didn't see him anywhere, she couldn't hide her disappointment. Actually, at that time, Shishao was at Brother Ping's auto repair shop, just sitting around playing video games and killing time. Zhou quickly found her way there, and seeing Shishao playing a racing game, she immediately offered a bet. If she beat him in one round, he would have to come to a study session tomorrow. Shishao also set an opposite condition. If she lost, she had to stop following him from now on. Brother Ping stepped up to be the referee, making a rule that the two of them would play 5 rounds, and as long as Zhou won one time, she would be considered the overall winner. In the first round, Xiao won easily. Moving on to the second round, he continued to dominate. By the third round, Zhou slowly caught on to the game, but in the end, she still lost. The result of the fourth round didn't change either. When only the last chance was left, Zhou had completely figured out the rules of the game. Thanks to that, she unexpectedly made a comeback and won. Super excited, she happily told Xiao she would see him tomorrow. Watching that scene, Brother Ping couldn't help but tease. Zhou is taking the initiative to help you study like that. Doesn't that mean she likes you? He even advised Xiao to just go meet her tomorrow and stop hanging around the shop all day. The next morning, seeing Zhou hurrying to get ready to go out, her grandma reminded her that the fact her mom left was already in the past. The most important thing right now was the college entrance exam. People had to know how to look forward and couldn't let anything get in their way. If she didn't listen to her, her grandma would be really mad. Zhou obediently promised to focus on her studies and waited for her grandma to finish taking her medicine before leaving the house. When she got to the abandoned pool, she found out that Xiao was already there waiting for her. He looked at her and commented that it seemed like she really needed to make this money. Zhou replied that it wasn't completely for the money. She was actually interested in him and wanted to be friends with him. Of course, Xiao didn't believe that explanation at all. Right after that, he started working on the test paper that Zhou prepared. After grading it, she noticed that his English listening skills were pretty decent, but his fill-in-the-blanks and reading comprehension were still really weak and needed a lot more practice. Taking a break, Zhou asked for the reason he wanted to go abroad. Xiao frankly said he just didn't want to keep being controlled by his family. Hearing that, Zhou suggested that the two of them temporarily keep up the tutoring sessions until the day of the parent-teacher meeting. Xiao thought about it for a moment and then agreed. The next day, when Xiao came to study, Zhou had a handheld fan ready because the day before she saw him constantly using paper as a fan since it was so hot. Not only that, she also gave him a pack of tissues to wipe the sweat. The morning after that, at the school's convenience store, Zhou purposely bought a bottle of water and gave it to Xiao as a way to remind him not to forget their next study session. At night, when school was over, someone was in a rush to go home and accidentally knocked Zhou's stack of books to the ground. Jiang Yan walked over to help pick them up and discovered some of Xiao's test papers inside. Seeing that, this neighbor friend started feeling jealous and worried deep down inside. The next morning, Jiang Yan asked Zhou about the teacher looking for him lately and wondered if she was still tutoring outside of school. Zhou shook her head and said that she had found another job, which was tutoring Xiao. Right then, she saw Xiao at Brother Ping's auto repair shop, so she quickly asked him to meet up tonight. When he found out that Zhou was the one taking the initiative to tutor Xiao, Jiang Yan got even more jealous. That night, Xiao sat waiting for Zhou at the abandoned pool. While waiting, he quietly drew a picture of her back in his notebook. As soon as he saw Zhou show up, he immediately hid the drawing because he didn't want her to find out. After that, he even purposely hid in a corner to scare Zhou, making her heart skip a beat. Zhou apologized for being late today and promised to make up the time for him the next day. Seeing her bag constantly dripping water, Xiao asked out of curiosity and found out Zhou had bought some goldfish, but the bag holding them had a hole. She worriedly said she bought all those fish on a whim, but if she didn't deal with it quickly, they would suffocate and die. Hearing that, Xiao came up with an idea right away. The two of them immediately went to the school lab to find something to hold the fish, but unfortunately got spotted by the security guard. The two of them hurriedly hid behind a desk. When they accidentally made a noise, they both frantically ran away. Running to the abandoned pool, Zhou quickly climbed through the window down below. But Xiao was scared of heights, so he didn't dare to climb after her. Seeing that, Zhou encouraged him, saying she would be able to catch him. Hearing the guard's footsteps getting closer and closer, Xiao had to bite the bullet and climb down. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he was shaking so much he almost fell over. Luckily, Zhou hugged him in time. Hearing the guard searching nearby, both of them immediately tucked themselves into a hidden corner. Zhou pulled Xiao down low, and both their hearts were pounding because they were terrified of being found out. Fast forward to the year 2026, Xiao once again went back to the abandoned pool, where everything seemed to be exactly the same as back then. He quietly walked to his old classroom, looking at the spot where Zhou used to sit, his heart filled with endless regret. At the same time, Zhou also walked out of the classroom next door, but he didn't notice her. After that, Xiao and Zhou put the goldfish into cups and watched them swim together. Seeing Zhou keep sneaking glances at him, Xiao asked if he was good-looking. Because he enthusiastically helped her save the fish, Zhou rewarded him with a piece of candy. At the same time, she said she used to always think he was the lazy type of guy who only knew how to bask in the sun without a care in the world, and when he grew up, he would inherit the family business and hire a bunch of secretaries to do the work for him. But after getting to know him, she realized he wasn't like that at all. Xiao was pretty surprised because this was the first time someone had said those things to him. Right after that, Zhou curiously asked how he knew she usually hung out at the abandoned pool. Xiao explained that her profile picture gave everything away. The tree in the picture was a very special albino tree, and not many people had ever noticed it. If Zhou could see it, and even take a picture of it, it proved that she hung around that place a lot. Coincidentally, he also really liked that tree because it was so different. Now that two people had seen it and loved it, it wasn't lonely anymore. Hearing that, Zhou smiled softly and quietly looked at the tree canopy with him. On the way home, when Zhou was sitting on the bus, Xishao rode his motorcycle right alongside her. Seeing that, she burst out laughing and signaled him to ride ahead. Xishao immediately did as she said, while Zhou sat on the bus, quietly watching his back with a smile on her face. The next morning, seeing Xishao studying hard, Jiang Fan insisted on dragging him out to hang out because he thought they wouldn't have many chances to see each other after he went abroad. Xishao immediately warned him, "Don't go running your mouth about studying abroad, because neither my family nor the school knows yet." Right at that moment, Xishao saw Zhou walking by. He heard her say she wanted to buy fish but didn't have enough money, so he immediately paid to buy all of Uncle Yu's fish. Seeing that, Zhou gave him a thumbs up to praise him. After that, the two of them brought all the fish and released them into the abandoned pool. Xishao asked her what song she would think of if she looked at this huge body of water. Zhou said she had one in mind but wouldn't tell him. Right then, she realized Xishao had accidentally released a fighting fish along with a school of goldfish. The two of them immediately jumped into the water to catch the fighting fish. But at that moment, Xishao took the chance to hold Zhou hand, and together they watched the schools of fish swimming underwater. After catching the fighting fish, they put them into separate jars. While moving the fish to their new home, the two found some spare uniforms at the pool and changed into them to avoid catching a cold. During that time, Zhou asked Xishao where he wanted to study abroad later. He replied that as long as he could study what he loved, anywhere was fine. Then he asked her back if she had any plans for the future. Zhou just said she hadn't really thought about it because she had too many things to worry about. Right after that, she asked Xishao if he was going to the parent-teacher meeting because the school was also having a club festival that day. Xishao said he didn't have any parents to attend, and at the same time, he felt like Zhou was trying to get close to him on purpose and wanted to know the real reason. While Zhou still didn't know how to answer, the security guard suddenly showed up and caught them both. The next morning, the news that Zhou and Xishao took lab equipment without permission and brought goldfish to raise in the school pool was announced over the PA system to the whole school. Xishao took the initiative to grab the mic and apologize, admitting he not only trespassed into the school, but also dragged Zhou into it with him. Jiang Fan was super surprised to hear that because he didn't expect Xishao to step up and take the hit for Zhou. As for Zhou, she also seriously apologized and promised not to do it again. Seeing Zhou do such silly things for Xishao, Jiang Yan felt even more jealous deep down. After leaving, Zhou didn't understand why Xishao took all the blame himself. Xishao just said that sooner or later he would leave anyway, while she was about to graduate, so she couldn't afford to have trouble on her record. Hearing that, Zhou was really touched and decided to treat him to a meal after school to say thanks. Right after school ended, Xishao immediately went to find Zhou. Seeing that she was still slowly packing her things, he just grabbed her bag for her. Jiang Yan stood far away and saw Zhou walking with Xishao, and he couldn't hide his sadness. Zhou led Xishao to Uncle Kang's noodle shop. As soon as he saw his motorcycle, Uncle Kang was super excited and even thought Xishao was Zhou's boyfriend. Inside the shop, Zhou told him that she still owed him a few study sessions and would make them up next time because she had to attend the parent-teacher meeting tomorrow. Xishao agreed when he heard that, and then he showed her the fish tank he had specially asked someone to make. Not long after, Uncle Kang brought out a huge special bowl of noodles for Xishao. Zhou also mentioned that her grandma used to work here, but she hadn't come in for the last few days. That night when she got home, Zhou was immediately scolded by her grandma. She thought that if she didn't want to apply to Huaqing, that was one thing, but skipping class and getting called out in front of the whole school was another. Zhou then said that she hadn't wanted to study away from home for a long time, so whether she got into Huaqing or not wasn't a big deal to her. Hearing that, her grandma just gently reminded her that her fate was in her own hands, but what she wanted most was for her granddaughter to be safe, healthy, and happy. After that, Zhou asked Jiang Yan to meet up. She scolded him for snitching to her grandma. Jiang Yan bluntly admitted that he didn't want her getting close to Xishao. Zhou said there are some things friends just can't help with, and she knew exactly what she was doing. Jiang Yan sadly felt that lately she was getting more and more distant, while she had always been his only friend. Hearing that, Zhou said he was also her first friend, so she wouldn't blame him. Besides, everything would be over soon anyway. However, if he kept snitching, she definitely wouldn't let it slide. Jiang Yan quickly promised there wouldn't be a next time. As for Xishao, after getting home, he immediately looked at the goldfish. Seeing the new fish tank was all set up, he took a photo and changed it to his profile picture, then sent it to Zhou to see. Not only that, he also sent a voice message asking her what time the club festival would start tomorrow. Looking at Xiao's message, Zhou understood that the arrow had already left the bow. She had no way back now. The next day, she sneaked into the teacher's office again to call Xiang Ling and found out she was about to arrive at school. Right after that, Zhou texted Xishao, saying she would wait for him in the schoolyard. After getting everything ready, Zhou went down to the schoolyard to find Xishao, but he was nowhere to be seen. Just then, wishes had been written on balloons, and all the students released them into the sky together, hoping their dreams would come true. Zhou thought Xishao wasn't coming anymore, but right at that moment, he suddenly showed up with a big bunch of balloons in his hand. Xishao walked up to her, looking at the girl in front of him with the softest eyes, and then they both released the bunch of balloons into the sky, letting their own dreams carry on the wind. Xishao knew Zhou Wan had another motive, but he was still willing to help her finish what she wanted. Just as she saw Xiangling walking toward them, Zhou Wan suddenly gave Xishao a big hug and said thank you, which totally shocked him. Xiangling saw Zhou Wan but didn't dare to recognize her daughter, while Xishao looked visibly annoyed as soon as he saw her, thinking that if she was so bored, she should figure out a way to give his dad a son. Hearing that, Zhou Wan asked if he really hated Xiangling and what would happen if she did something that made his dad unhappy. Xishao casually said that, in that case, they could just get rid of her. Hearing that answer, Zhou Wan smiled softly and quietly looked towards Xiangling, who was standing not too far away. At night, Xiangling stayed back to meet Zhou Wan. Seeing her daughter all grown up, she couldn't help but get emotional. Then she asked Zhou Wan if she was in the same class as Xishao and if he knew anything yet. Zhou Wan immediately asked back if her mom was afraid that Xishao would find out she had a secret daughter. Xiangling coldly replied that they hadn't seen each other for over 10 years. Would the fact that she had a secret daughter even matter to the Lu family? She also exposed the fact that Zhou Wan called and tricked her into coming to the school, then used Xishao to put pressure on her. It was all just for money. Xiangling said she could give her money, but the condition was to stay away from the Lu family and from now on act like they didn't know each other at all. Hearing that, Zhou Wan quietly took the bank card. Xiangling even mocked her, saying that if an arrogant person like Xishao, who thought he was above everyone, knew he was only worth some medical bills, it would surely be very interesting. Those words really hurt Zhou Wan. She squeezed the card in her hand, her heart full of guilt toward Xishao. Meanwhile, Xishao borrowed Brother Peng's workshop to hand make an arrow-shaped pendant. The next morning, he brought that gift to find Zhou Wan. But before he could show up, he accidentally overheard the conversation between her and Jiang Yan. Zhou Wan insisted that she and Xishao weren't friends they weren't before, and they certainly wouldn't be in the future. Those words left Xishao stunned on the spot. In the following days, whenever Zhou Wan saw Xishao, she found a way to avoid him. This made him totally confused about what he had done wrong. Even when Xishao went to the school store to find her, she immediately dodged him. Xishao could only sit there looking at the arrow pendant he had prepared for her, his heart full of disappointment. Seeing that, Jiang Fan teased that the two of them really knew how to pick their timing just when Xishao was about to pass his language exam and get ready to go abroad. Feelings started to develop. Even though he still strongly denied liking Zhou Wan, he listened as Jiang Fan analyzed that if a girl still cared enough to deny or explain things, she might not actually want to cut ties. Xishao immediately asked about the situation he was facing. He didn't understand why he hadn't done anything wrong and nothing had happened. Yet Zhou Wan suddenly wouldn't admit they were friends and completely ignored him. After hearing that, Jiang Fan said if he wanted an answer, he should just ask Zhou Wan directly. Friends can't just unilaterally cut ties whenever they feel like it. The next morning, Xishao rode his motorcycle to block Zhou Wan's path. Because of that, he accidentally blocked Wen Hui's path too, which almost caused a fight between the two of them before everyone stopped them. Just then, it suddenly started to rain. Xishao told Zhou Wan to get on the bike, but she flat out refused. Seeing that, he took off his jacket, gave it to her, and then rode away. Zhou Wan held back her tears, used his jacket to shield herself from the rain, and ran to school. Then, she changed into Meng Meng's spare uniform and went to see Ms. Yang to get some study materials. Right then, she accidentally overheard Mr. Yu telling Mr. Zhao that a few days ago, Xishao kept asking about the procedures and paperwork needed to study abroad. The teachers weren't happy because he wanted to decide his future on his own without talking to his family or the school. Seeing that, Zhou Wan immediately stepped up to explain that actually, she was the one who wanted to learn about studying abroad, so she had asked Xishao to ask for her so she could reference and prepare beforehand. Hearing that explanation, the teacher stopped being suspicious. Standing nearby, Jiang Fan was super surprised to see Zhou Wan take the initiative to lie to help Xishao get out of trouble. When Ms. Jin brought the clean laundry into the room, Xishao asked her to help him throw that red school jacket away. Right at that moment, Xiangling sent a text saying that all the study abroad procedures were finished. Meanwhile, when Zhou Wan went to the hospital to get medicine for her grandma, as soon as she got the receipt, she immediately tore it up and threw it in the trash. But her grandma still saw her do it. She angrily scolded her, saying she was still very healthy and didn't need her to worry so much. Zhou Wan choked up and said she just hoped her grandma would get better soon and didn't want to see her working so hard to make money every day at her age. She also insisted that the money for the medicine was all earned by herself. Hearing those words, her grandma emotionally gave her granddaughter a big hug. Before that, Zhou Wan had told Xiangling that her mom took all the money her dad left behind and hadn't given her a single cent in the past 10 years. Now that her grandma was seriously ill, she really needed that money. But Xiangling coldly thought that her dad's little bit of assets wasn't worth much and that Zhou Wan had put him on too high a pedestal. On the graduation day for the 12th grade, Zhou Wan looked around but didn't see Xishao anywhere. Meanwhile, the teachers were also worried because it was almost time for the speech, but Jiang Yan hadn't shown up yet. Ms. Yang and Mr. Yu had to ask Zhou Wan to go on stage to give the speech instead. At this time, Jiang Yan was looking for Xishao. He bluntly warned Xishao to stop clinging to and ruining Zhou Wan's life. Xishao coldly replied, "I know what kind of person Jiang Yan is even better than Zhou Wan does." Hearing that, Jiang Yan immediately got angry and lunged into a fight with Xishao. The two of them struggled fiercely, all over a girl named Zhou. When he was pinned against the wall, Jiang Yan brought up the thing about being half-brothers and also mentioned Xiangling. Hearing that, Xiao completely lost his cool, immediately slammed Jiang Yan to the ground and warned him, "If you dare mention those things again, don't blame me for what happens." In the hall, Zhou stepped up to the podium to speak. By then, Zhang Fan had also returned. After her emotional speech, all the students shouted together wishes for a bright future and a wide-open path ahead. After the ceremony ended, Zhou finally found out that Jiang Yan and Xiao had just fought. Xiao left one last warning and then stormed off in anger. Zhou looked at Jiang Yan and said she wasn't a good person to begin with and didn't need him to protect her. She also didn't want anyone interfering with her choices or her life. The last class for the 12th graders also officially came to an end. Meng hugged Zhou and told her to study hard at home for the upcoming exam. Zhou didn't forget to remind Meng to stay off her phone and focus more on studying. That night when Jiang Yan went home, his mom wondered why he still went to school every day since he had already been directly admitted. Jiang Yan just said he gave a speech as the student representative today. Hearing that, his mom told him to go to bed early and stop staying up late. Sitting in front of the mirror, Jiang Yan quietly looked at the injuries on his body, then remembered what Zhou had said, his heart filled with sadness and a sense of loss. Somewhere else, Jiang Fan told Xiao that Zhou was actually really loyal. Even though they had stopped hanging out, she still took the initiative to help him hide the study abroad thing from the teachers. Hearing this, Xiao immediately stood up and rushed off to find Zhou. At the same time, Zhou also went to the abandoned pool alone, hoping she might run into Xiao. He ran all the way there, searching everywhere frantically, but he couldn't find any sign of her because he was just one step too late. They missed each other. Xiao stood in the middle of the abandoned pool, his heart full of disappointment. Meanwhile, Zhou walked quietly on her way back, also feeling full of regret. Fast forward to 2026, when she saw a cute little dog, Zhou leaned down to pet it. Right then, Xiao caught sight of her, looking at the girl he had missed for so many years. His eyes instinctively turned red as so many suppressed emotions came rushing back. After being stunned for a few seconds, he finally spoke up to say hello to Zhou. The next morning, Xiao handed his motorcycle over to Jiang Fan and told him to help move both the fish tank and the fish to Zhou when he had time. That evening, Gumeng met Zhou and said that Jiang Fan wanted to meet up because it seemed like he had something to give her. Hearing that, Zhou agreed because she also had something she wanted to ask Jiang Fan to give to Xiao. The next morning, Xiao saw the fish tank was still sitting in his house, so he immediately called Jiang Fan to ask about it. That's when he found out Jiang Fan had misunderstood and thought Zhou would come to get it herself. Following the address Jiang Fan sent, Zhou found the place and was surprised to see it was actually Xiao's house. Right after that, she gave back the jacket from the other day and thanked him. Xiao just said that since she helped him hide the study abroad plans from Mr. Yu, the two of them were even now. Right then, Jiang Fan showed up, looked at them, and told them to hurry up and decide who owned the fish tank. Zhou said the tank was too big and her house didn't have room for it. Jiang Fan immediately complained, asking if they were really going to make him take it on a plane. In the end, Zhou and Xiao agreed to move the fish tank to Jiang Fan's house. Before he could even object, Jiang Fan saw the two of them walk away. At the same time, the first day of the 2016 National College entrance exam officially began, and that was also the day Xiao prepared his luggage to head to the airport to study abroad. Zhang Yu found out that Xiao wasn't taking the exam but was planning to go abroad instead, so he immediately ordered the sale of a house Xiao's mother had left behind, and then broke the news to him. On Zhou side, her grandma took her to the test site and stood outside waiting, hoping her granddaughter would get a good result. But right at that moment, she suddenly had chest pains and fainted on the spot. Seeing her grandma fall, Zhou immediately skipped the exam to take her to the hospital for surgery. Meanwhile, at the airport, Xiao got word that his dad wanted to sell his mother's house, so he rushed back immediately. Standing outside the operating room in extreme anxiety, Zhou could only wait. When Dr. Chen came out to announce the surgery was successful and her grandma was out of danger but still needed to stay in the hospital for observation, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Afterward, Dr. Chen asked about the college entrance exam. Zhou just calmly said she could retake it next year because right now nothing was more important than her grandma's life. Going back home, Zhou couldn't stop crying. Eventually, she burned all her books and her exam permit, personally putting an end to the exam she had prepared for over many years. Waking up the next morning, the first thing she did was go to the hospital to pay her grandma's medical bills. While the college entrance exam was over and everyone was happily celebrating, Zhou and Xiao were both carrying their own regrets. Once again, the two of them accidentally walked past each other without even knowing. Brother Ping watched everything and couldn't help but comment that Xiao's dad was really playing a clever game. Jiang Fan also advised Xiao to talk calmly with his dad, but he didn't want to listen. Right then, it got noisy outside. It turned out Gumeng was having an argument with Wen Hui. He was picking a fight because he thought she gave him the wrong spare parts. Seeing Wen Hui about to cause trouble, Xiao stepped up immediately. Wen Hui right away brought up his family to put pressure on him, saying that even Xiao's dad had to ask his family for favors. Xi coldly replied that it had nothing to do with him. Getting annoyed, when Hui suggested a race if he lost, he would smash his own bike with his own hands, but if he won, Xi had to kneel down and apologize. The race started with the hardware advantage leaning toward Wen Hui, but everyone still believed Xi could make up for it with his skills. Thanks to the bike, he tuned himself, and his superior handling especially at the turns, Xi slowly closed the gap with his opponent. Just as he was about to pull ahead, Wen Hui suddenly played dirty, but Xi quickly hit back at the next turn, forcing the other guy to slam on the brakes. From then on, he completely took control of the race and won convincingly. Even though he lost, Wen Hui still shouted that Xi played dirty. Xi didn't even bother to argue. He walked right up and kicked the guy's bike over, then made him follow the deal and smash his own bike with his own hands. That made Wen Hui so mad he gritted his teeth, but he couldn't do anything about it. On this side, as soon as Luo saw Zhou Wan, he immediately demanded the debt money. Seeing that, Zhou Wan decided to find their boss to get to the bottom of everything. Right at that moment, Wen Hui called Luo and asked him to deal with Xi. Accidentally hearing the conversation, Zhou Wan immediately got worried about him. At night, when Xi was walking alone on the street, Luo's gang was already waiting to block him. He quickly realized this was one of Hui's dirty tricks. Watching from a corner, Zhou Wan had a brick ready in her hand to jump in and help if needed, but after a moment of hesitation, she put the brick down and hurried off somewhere else. Although the other side had many people, Xi wasn't easy to deal with. Alone and empty-handed, he still fought back fiercely. However, right when he let his guard down, Luo suddenly used a club to hit him hard on the head and then kicked him to the ground. After calling the police, Zhou Wan happened to run into Gumeng. She immediately borrowed her friend's electric scooter and rushed straight down the slope toward that group of people. The scooter suddenly appearing made Luo's group quickly dodge to both sides. Taking that chance, Xi quickly got on the scooter to leave with Zhou Wan. When they saw the police show up, Luo's gang also immediately ran away in all directions. Bringing Xi to safety, Zhou Wan carefully disinfected his wounds and advised him to go to the hospital for a checkup. After that, she gently picked the cotton fibers still stuck in his hair. When Xi was about to leave, Zhou Wan told him to finish his bowl of noodles before going. While eating, Zhou Wan curiously asked why he got into a fight. Xi just said the other side started trouble first, but what he didn't understand was why the first person to come find him for tutoring was her, yet the person who kept avoiding him afterward was also her. Zhou Wan just said that not everyone gets to live life their way, and that today she was just being nosy, so she told him not to worry about it. Hearing that, Xi suddenly grabbed her hand and asked her to see their chance meetings as something meant to be. Those words made Zhou Wan's heart skip a beat, and she didn't even know how to respond. The next morning, Zhou Wan brought the electric scooter back to Gumeng. But as soon as she saw Xi from a distance, Zhou Wan turned around and ran away, leaving him to just sigh helplessly. Right after that, Xi and Jiang Fan finally learned that the reason Zhou Wan couldn't take the exam was that her grandma was in the hospital, and the bills were so high that she was really struggling. When Zhou Wan went to pick up her grandma from the hospital, she found out that Xi had quietly paid all the medical bills for her. Zhou Wan immediately went to see him and said that while that money might be pocket change to him, she was perfectly capable of earning it herself. She had already sent the money back via WeChat, so she insisted he take it. Xi explained that he didn't help her out of pity, but as a friend who just wanted to help out another friend. Hearing that, Zhou Wan didn't know what else to say. Later, when she saw Xi buying ice cream, she immediately beat him to it and paid for it, which made him burst out laughing. Not long after, Zhou Wan found a part-time job at a claw machine shop. Xi went there too, caught a teddy bear himself, and gave it to her. At the same time, he also gave her the arrow pendant he had carefully made before. Seeing Zhou Wan's bright smile, which was just as cute as a teddy bear in her hands, Xi couldn't help but smile too. Right then, through the security camera on his phone, he noticed someone was entering his house. Xi immediately took Zhou Wan and headed back. When they arrived, he saw Xiang Ling welcoming someone who came to see his mother's house to buy it, so he got angry and wanted to charge inside. Luckily, Zhou Wan stopped him in time and suggested that Xi take her into the house through another way. After quietly watching what was happening inside, the two of them quickly came up with a plan to deal with the house sale. As Xiang Ling led Mr. Li to see the house, Zhou Wan and Xi also started moving separately. After sneaking upstairs, Zhou Wan saw that Xi had cut the power, so an idea immediately popped into her head. She purposely plucked the guitar strings, making eerie sounds, and also made clattering noises that started to freak out the realtor and Mr. Li. On top of that, the three of them saw red handprints showing up on the walls. Terrified, they ran out immediately because they thought the house was haunted. After successfully scaring them off, Zhou Wan and Xi happily high-fived to celebrate. Next, Xi took her into his private art studio to see the things he had painted. Zhou Wan was super surprised to find out he was such a talented artist. Among those paintings, there was even the familiar white pine tree they had looked at together. But when he realized Zhou Wan had walked into the art studio upstairs, Xi suddenly got angry. Zhou Wan quickly apologized, saying she didn't mean to, and then quietly left. As soon as she stepped outside, she saw Xiang Ling waiting for her. The woman was mad because Zhou Wan hadn't kept her promise. Zhou Wan explained that she and Xi were just friends, and besides, she had never told him about their relationship as mother and daughter. Xiangling then said she could help pay for her grandma's medical bills, but in exchange, Zhou had to completely disappear from Xiao's life. After saying that, she handed over a stack of cash and said that she couldn't keep testing her patience forever. Right then, Zhou's phone rang, and the caller was Xiao. She quietly turned off the phone as she took the money. She was also forced to follow Xiangling's demand to unfriend Xiao because, with her grandma's illness, Zhou had no other choice. Back home, she was heartbroken and kept silently apologizing to Xiao. Meanwhile, Xiao sent a message wanting to make up, but he found out he had been deleted from her friends list. The next morning, Xiao took the initiative to go see his grandpa and apologize. His grandpa said he always supported his grandson and promised he wouldn't let anyone touch Xinlan's house. After that, Zhongyu told Xiao, "In a few days, it's the 40th anniversary of Lanyu. You have to attend and apologize to Bossy Sun." Seeing that his dad no longer planned to sell his mother's house, Xiao reluctantly agreed. As for Zhou, she accidentally saw the insurance policy her dad had bought, where the primary beneficiary was her, not Xiangling like the woman had said. Zhou immediately realized she had been lied to for all these years. She was furious when she found out Xiangling had taken all the money her dad left for her. Not long after, she found out about Lanyu's 40th anniversary party. Zhou realized this might be the only chance to get back what belonged to her and save her grandma. She secretly swore to make Xiangling pay for everything. Right after that, Zhou went to the arcade to play a shooting game. She knew Xiao would be really annoyed if someone took his #1 spot, so she was determined to win. Sure enough, the next morning after losing to her, Xiao seemed really upset. Seeing that, Jiang Fan said that she had already tried to make the first move to fix things, but he still didn't realize it. Zhou brought a can of soda wanting to make up, but Xiao purposely walked away. Having no other choice, she invited Gumeng out to eat and asked how she could get into Xiao's house. Gumeng curiously asked if she liked him. Zhou denied it, saying she just had something she needed to do. She said the two of them had a fight, so she deleted his WeChat. She originally planned to make peace at the arcade, but Xiao treated her like she was invisible. Hearing that, Gumeng gave only one piece of advice. She had to throw away her pride. The plan to top up promotional credit to add him back failed, so Gumeng had to ask Jiang Fan for help. Seeing Zhou trying every way to get close to him, Xiao was really happy inside, but on the outside, he still tried to act cold. The third plan was carried out when Zhou pretended to be tired from working overtime constantly, but Xiao still acted like he didn't care. The next morning, even Jiang Fan couldn't stand it anymore. He bluntly pointed out that Xiao clearly wanted to see Zhou, which is why he was hanging around the arcade every day. Having his secret exposed, Xiao didn't know how to talk back for a moment. Meanwhile at the hospital, while Zhou was listening to music with her grandma, Jiang Yan came to visit. He brought enrollment materials from universities in Pingchuan City to give to her. Zhou thanked him, and then remembered it was Jiang Yan's birthday in 2 days, so she asked how he planned to celebrate. Jiang Yan just said it would be like every other year. That night, Xiao went to the arcade again but didn't see Zhou anywhere. The staff there said she wasn't there, so finally he couldn't take it anymore and immediately called her. At that time, Zhou and Gumeng were standing there listening to music. Seeing the phone ring, they were both happy because their plan finally worked. Zhou immediately ran to the arcade to meet Xiao. When she saw Xiao take the lead to talk to her, she was visibly happy because she thought he didn't want to talk to her anymore. Xiao admitted he was also at fault that day, but after that, Zhou unfriended him, which made it very confusing for him. According to him, their relationship hadn't reached the point of cutting ties yet, so he wanted her to add him back. Hearing those words, Zhou couldn't hide her smile. Seeing her smile, Xiao instinctively smiled along. After that, they played a shooting game together. This time, Xiao finally beat Zhou, so he felt pretty smug about it. Zhou then said she had just helped him take some bullets, so he should at least thank her. Xiao asked how she wanted to be thanked. Taking the chance, Zhou mentioned the Lu family party and that the band was invited to perform, then asked if she could go watch in person. Xiao immediately agreed and told her to make sure to come early that day. Zhou thanked him, while silently hoping that Xiao wouldn't blame her later on. On Jiang Yan's birthday, his mom reminded him that people used to look down on them back then, so he had to hold his head high when they met tonight. When Zhongyu saw Jiang Yan, he immediately gave his son a fountain pen with his name engraved on it. This was when everyone found out that Jiang Yan and Xiao were actually half-brothers. Seeing his son in old clothes, Zhongyu even told his assistant to take Jiang Yan to buy brand-name clothes. But Jiang Yan coldly refused, insisting they weren't family and never would be. He was proud of the mother who raised him and declared he wouldn't take any sponsorship or financial support from the Lu family anymore. Hearing that, Zhongyu also coldly replied, "You have your attitude, and I have mine." The meal couldn't continue after that, and he immediately got up and left. Meanwhile, Xiao went to a women's clothing store by himself to pick out a formal dress for Zhou, and Zhou prepared a birthday cake to celebrate with Jiang Yan. To thank her for the gift, Jiang Yan gave her 2 tickets to an art exhibition. Zhou found out the exhibition was on the same day as the Lu family party, but she still accepted because she thought she could leave the party early. The next morning, Zhou stood in front of the mirror, quietly looking at the necklace Xiao gave her. After thinking it over for a while, She took it off and looked at a photo of her dad, her mind full of conflicting thoughts. At the party, Xiao had been waiting outside very early because he was afraid Zhou Wan wouldn't find him. Zhou Wan was worried because she was dressed too simply, but Xiao kept complimenting her, saying she looked very beautiful. Right at that moment, when Hui purposely walked over and splashed a glass of wine on her. Xiao was so angry he wanted to rush over and deal with him, but Zhou Wan quickly stopped him, repeatedly telling him to calm down. After that, Xiao took her to a private room where he had a formal dress ready for her. Zhou Wan asked out of curiosity if girls often came to his house. Xiao replied that there were indeed many girls at his house, but they were all housekeepers or fashion designers. Right after that, a makeup and styling team showed up to help Zhou Wan look even more beautiful and confident. While Xiao was standing outside anxiously, trying to sneak a peek to see if Zhou Wan was ready, Miss Qin called him out. He had to stand in a corner feeling bored, not wanting to talk to anyone because he only wanted to see Zhou Wan. Just then, his Aunt Kai Lan returned from abroad. She felt regretful because all the effort she put into finishing Xiao's study abroad paperwork had ultimately fallen through. Not long after, Zhong Yu called Xiao over and asked him to apologize to Wen Hui. On the surface, Xiao admitted he was wrong, but every word was full of sarcasm. He said he was wrong for blocking Wen Hui when he ran a red light, so he wouldn't cause an accident, wrong for agreeing to race which made him lose, and wrong for only smashing his bike without going to his house to demand compensation. Then he even reminded Wen Hui to stop showing off, because the drama between them was just an excuse for their fathers to settle their business conflicts. After saying that, Xiao even forced Wen Hui to bow with him to their two parents. Wen Hui mocked him, saying that they were both the same, they both had to play the role of good kids in front of their families. Xiao immediately shot back that Wen Hui was only scared of his dad, while he wasn't. At the same time, he also mentioned the debt involving Luo, that he would definitely settle later. As soon as Wen Hui left, Zhou Wan appeared in a gentle princess dress with a pure and pretty face. That moment made Xiao's heart flutter completely. In his eyes, Zhou Wan was the most beautiful bright moonlight of his life. Zhou Wan was still worried Wen Hui would keep causing trouble, but Xiao was just busy staring at her. He smiled and held out his arm for her to take, then led her to the performance area where the band he had specially invited was getting ready to perform. Then Xiao took Zhou Wan onto a small stage and taught her how to dance. Among the floating bubbles and the melodious, clear tune, the two of them gently immersed themselves in the dance. The song Xiao chose told a story about a romance between two people who weren't supposed to be together but fell deeply in love anyway. In the end, the woman hurts the man who loved her with all his heart, but that man still sacrificed his life to protect her, because he believed that even if it's a wrong fate, it's still fate. Amidst the music and the laughter of youth, Xiao happily picked Zhou Wan up and spun her around. The two of them leaned their heads against each other, enjoying a rare moment of peace, romance, and happiness. When the performance ended, they bowed together to thank the band. At that moment, Zhou Wan suddenly asked, "If one day I hurt you, what would you do?" Xiao just softly replied that he wouldn't do anything at all. On the other side of the hall, Zhong Yu stepped onto the stage to give a speech. He announced that today was the 40th anniversary of the Lan Yu group and introduced a very important painting left by Xiao's mother. According to him, the work was titled Shang Xia. Hearing that, Xiao immediately spoke up to correct him. He insisted that the correct name of the painting was Shi Xia. And moreover, it wasn't just a single piece but a whole collection of paintings. Just as Xiao stepped onto the stage, Dr. Chen called Zhou Wan to give her news that a matching kidney had been found for her grandma. If everything went well, she could have a surgery. However, the treatment cost would exceed 300,000 yuan, so she needed to be mentally prepared beforehand. Before Zhou Wan could even process the news, two bodyguards suddenly showed up following Xiangling's orders. Their only goal was to immediately kick Zhou Wan out of the party. Seeing that, Zhou Wan immediately ran onto the stage and announced that she was Xiangling's daughter. Those words left all the guests completely shocked. Whispers immediately broke out across the hall, and Xiao stood there frozen on the spot. Zhou Wan said that her father passed away when she was young. She had never felt a mother's love since she was a child, and her family life was very difficult. Xiangling stood below, trembling with fear, but then she slowly breathed a sigh of relief when she heard Zhou Wan say that Xiangling was the one who had always secretly sponsored her education, even being more noble than her own biological mother. Xiangling quickly stepped onto the stage and hugged Zhou Wan. At that moment, Zhou Wan leaned in and reminded her that her father's insurance money belonged to her, and her grandma now needed 300,000 yuan for surgery. After that, she continued to praise Xiangling to the sky as a kind, moral person who was always ready to help others. That was why she gathered all her courage to stand before everyone today. Xiao stood there silently, his heart in a total mess. He didn't know if Zhou Wan was using him or if she was hiding an even bigger secret behind everything. Xiangling took the chance to express her hope that Zhou Wan would have a beautiful life. Zhong Yu completely believed his wife was a virtuous person, so he kept clapping proudly. Meanwhile, the art museum had been closed for a long time, but Jiang Yan was still holding the 2 tickets and waiting for Zhou Wan. Since he didn't see her show up, he went to the hospital to look for her, but he didn't find her there either. It wasn't until he saw the invitation card that he realized Zhou Wan had gone to the Lan Yu group's party. On this side, Xiao couldn't hold back his anger. He took Zhou Wan to a quiet place, his eyes red from being hurt. He thought she had purposely gotten close to him to step by step get near Xiangling, making him trust her and think that the world still had something good in it. What hurt him the most was the feeling that he had been betrayed by the person he trusted most. In a rush of emotion, Xiao lost control, suddenly forced a kiss on Zhou Wan, and then choked out a question asking if she had ever truly liked him during the time they spent together. Panicked, Zhou Wan could only say that she had never thought about that. That answer was the final straw, making Xiao leave in anger, leaving Zhou Wan all alone in the middle of the night. But after driving a short way, he didn't feel right, so he turned back. Unfortunately, by then, Zhou Wan had already caught a taxi and left. Sitting in the car, she couldn't stop crying because she felt so guilty toward Xiao. As for Xiao, he went back to the old spot and looked at the empty space with a heart full of helplessness and pain. When Zhou Wan returned home, Xiangling was already waiting. She announced that Xiao's aunt wanted to invite her for breakfast the next day. Zhou Wan immediately refused, thinking she had come because of money. Xiangling bluntly set a condition. If she wanted the money, she had to do what she was told tomorrow, and then she announced she would leave Pingchuan and never come back. Zhou Wan accepted, but demanded that she first provide the money for her grandma's dialysis, which was 6,000 yuan a month. Xiangling immediately transferred the money and told her to disappear from her life. That whole conversation was overheard by Jiang Yan, who was standing upstairs. Later, on the rooftop, Zhou Wan told him everything. After her dad passed away, Xiangling left and took all the money in the house. All these years, she always said she was struggling, but the reality was the exact opposite. That money is now the only hope to save her grandma's life. Now Jiang Yan finally understood why Zhou Wan got close to Xiao. He said she wasn't bad at all, because if someone wasn't pushed into a corner, they wouldn't want to go find the person who abandoned them. The next morning, Xiao announced to the family that he wanted to go abroad to study fine arts at the school his mom used to go to. He planned to spend a year seriously preparing for the entrance exams. Kailan brought the paintings he made for everyone to see, but Zhongyu immediately objected. Xiao didn't back down. He bluntly mocked his dad for always acting like he loved art, but not accepting his son following his passion. Zhongyu was so angry he couldn't speak, but after a warning from Grandpa, he could only stay silent. Xiangling kept advising Xiao to study finance first, and then study whatever he wanted later, but he didn't care at all. Right at that moment, Zhou Wan showed up, which took him completely by surprise. After greeting everyone, Xiangling purposely asked Zhou Wan to call Xiao big brother. As soon as he heard that, Xiao's face looked worse than ever. Xiao gave a sarcastic smirk and got up to leave the table, but Grandpa immediately told him to get back to his seat. He curiously asked if he and Zhou Wan were classmates. Xiao just coldly replied that the two of them weren't close. Kailan didn't like Xiangling, so she purposely asked why a girl with such great grades like Zhou Wan didn't take the college entrance exam. Xiangling immediately made an excuse that Zhou Wan had a high fever on the day of the exam. Hearing that, Zhou Wan calmly mentioned that Xiangling had promised to support her until she graduated from college. After hearing that, Kailan suggested that Zhou Wan stay at the Lu house to be a good example for Xiao. Zhou Wan quickly refused. Xiangling also clearly looked worried. On the contrary, Xiao expressed that he wanted Zhou Wan to stay, so he could learn from her. Kailan immediately told Miss Chen to clean up Xiao's childhood room for Zhou Wan to stay in. Then, Grandpa agreed to let Xiao stay in the country for one more year to prepare for his future plans. Zhongyu warned that if he caused any more trouble, he would have to obediently go abroad to study finance. Xiao just silently agreed. At the arcade, seeing Xiao just sitting there in a daze, Jiang Fan teased that living with Zhou Wan must make him really happy. Xiao shot back. What if Gu Meng becomes your sister one day? Jiang Fan laughed, saying it's fine as long as they get along, since his relationship with Gu Meng is totally different from Xiao and Zhou Wan's. On the other side, Gu Meng also curiously asked Zhou Wan why they added each other on WeChat again. She had been to Xiao's house before, but they were still in a cold war. Zhou Wan could only sigh and say that things are just too complicated. The person who used to support her is now about to become Xiao's stepmother, and he really hates that woman. After packing her bags, Zhou Wan got in the car to head to the Lu house. As soon as he saw the car taking her away, Xiao immediately sped off on his motorcycle to follow her. Meanwhile, Zhongyu was reminding Xiangling that their wedding had to be postponed. He told her to clearly know her place in the family and to manage her daughter, well, so no more trouble would pop up. When Zhou Wan arrived, Miss Chen led her to the room that used to belong to Xiao when he was a kid and told her to speak up if she needed anything. Looking at the scribbles left on the wall from Xiao's childhood, Zhou Wan couldn't help but laugh. When it was time for a shower, Zhou Wan walked into the bathroom and accidentally ran into Xiao, who was also there. She immediately turned away, blushing. Xiao smiled and asked why she moved in here without saying hi to him. Zhou Wan honestly said she thought he didn't want to see her. Hearing that, Xiao walked up and asked back if she actually wanted to see him or not. Zhou Wan softly replied that she really didn't want to make him sad. Just as someone was heard approaching, Xiao finally moved away. Not long after, Xiangling came to see Zhou Wan and asked if she thought doing this could intimidate her. Zhou Wan calmly replied that it had been a very long time since the two of them lived under one roof. Maybe she feels like a bit of a stranger to her own daughter. Afterward, Xiangling went to the hospital to visit Zhou Wan's grandma. The old lady immediately realized this woman definitely didn't show up for no reason. Out in the hallway, Xiangling gave Zhou Wan 150,000 yuan and said if she wanted the rest of the money, she had to help get Xiao to go study abroad quickly so she could smoothly join the Lu family. Zhou Wan flat out refused the deal, saying she should have paid her that money a long time ago anyway. Xiangling coldly pointed out that Zhou Wan didn't dare expose her because she was afraid Xiao would get hurt. Plus, if she got kicked out of the Lu house, she wouldn't have any money left to give her. To save her grandma, Zhou Wan was forced to make Xiao go abroad. That evening at the arcade, Jiang Fan ran into Zhou Wan while she was working and told her that Xiao was sick. Zhou Wan was surprised because she had no idea about it. Right after that, Zhou Wan bought some food and medicine and asked Miss Chen to take them up to Xiao. But Miss Chen said it would be better if she took them in herself because Xiao hadn't eaten or taken any medicine all day. Hearing a knock on the door, Xiao didn't want to let anyone in at first, but as soon as he knew it was Zhou Wan outside, he immediately changed his mind. As soon as they met, he asked if she finally figured out how to come visit him. Zhou Wan thought he was scolding her, but Xiao admitted she could just assume he was actually mad. Zhou Wan mixed the cold medicine and gave it to him to drink. When she was about to leave, Xiao suddenly called her back and mentioned what happened on the mountain that day. He confessed that he had gone back to pick her up, but she wasn't there anymore. Knowing Zhou Wan was willing to stay a bit longer, Xiao cheered up immediately. But that joy quickly disappeared when he found out she was texting Jiang Yan. He got jealous right away. He blamed her, saying she claimed she came to take care of him but didn't put any heart into it. Zhou Wan laughed and asked back what counted as putting heart into it. Xiao immediately pinned her down to the chair, planning to use a kiss to pass his cold to her. But just as he was about to kiss her, he suddenly let out a huge sneeze. Zhou Wan's face turned beet red and she hurried away, leaving Xiao sitting there in a daze, full of regret. The next morning, when Xiao just woke up, Miss Chen brought a flower pot into the room and said it was a gift from Zhou Wan. Xiao took it by surprise. A flash of joy appeared in his eyes, and he instinctively smiled with happiness. Not long after, Miss Chen came running in a panic to tell Zhou Wan that Xiao went to see Professor Qin but forgot to bring an important painting. Hearing that, Zhou Wan immediately grabbed the painting and ran to the Academy of Fine Arts. As soon as she got there, she saw Xiao talking to Professor Qin, so she quickly stepped aside to hide. Professor Qin bluntly said that he wasn't interested in taking Xiao as a student because he felt he couldn't help him. Xiao still persisted, saying that if the professor agreed to guide him, he would definitely learn a lot. Professor Qin looked at his works and pointed out that currently, Xiao was always painting what his mother used to paint. It was all just copying. The true emotions in his heart weren't shown in his paintings at all. Finally, he gave Xiao one more chance, asking him to come back and see him at the end of the month. Before then, he had to paint the most honest thing in his heart, what he desired the most, and what he feared losing the most. Even if it only shows up in a dream, that's fine, as long as he understands its meaning. Xiao seriously agreed. Standing far away and hearing the whole conversation, Zhou Wan wanted to help him even more. Back home, Xiao sat in front of his easel, feeling totally confused. He didn't know what he should paint, and even less how to express his deepest feelings. His eyes unconsciously stopped on the portrait of Zhou Wan he had once painted, and his mood became even more tangled and hard to describe. At the hospital, Grandma advised Zhou Wan not to worry too much about her anymore and to focus on studying for the college entrance exam retake. Zhou Wan smiled confidently, thinking that with her grades, Grandma didn't need to worry. But Grandma still felt bad because besides studying, she also had to carry too much pressure and responsibility. She only hoped that in the future, her granddaughter could live a normal, simple life, being kind and happy. Hearing those words, Zhou Wan just smiled quietly. Waiting until Grandma was fast asleep, she secretly called Jiang Yan to ask for a favor. The next morning, Xiao went to Linshan Orphanage to sign up as a volunteer. Jiang Yan showed up and let him know that Zhou Wan was taking part in morning activities with the kids, and he would be the one guiding Xiao today. On the way, Jiang Yan took the initiative to apologize for things in the past. He admitted he shouldn't have interfered with Zhou Wan's freedom, and especially shouldn't have dragged her into the conflict between the two of them. While Zhou Wan was sitting and reading stories to the little kids, she suddenly saw Xiao show up, so she ran over immediately. Xiao then also slowly opened up, joining in the games with the children. The scene became very happy and lively. When the fun activities ended, Jiang Yan suddenly suggested that Xiao go up and tell a story to the kids. Xiao stood in front of the crowd but couldn't open his mouth. Seeing that, Zhou Wan stepped up to stand beside him and help him tell the story of the sheep and the wolf. With Zhou Wan by his side, Xiao slowly got his confidence back and continued the story. But the real meaning of that story was just like the thoughts he had for himself and Zhou Wan. Right after that, Xiao took out a rose and said, "Only Zhou Wan can see this flower, so it belongs to her." That unexpected move made Zhou Wan's heart race. After that, Xiao sat down with the kids to paint. While everyone was focused on their art, his eyes unconsciously drifted toward Zhou Wan. He quietly sketched her image on the paper. When Zhou Wan came closer, Xiao immediately hid the drawing and made an excuse that he'd been busy all day and had to head home first. He left, leaving Zhou Wan with a feeling of regret that was hard to put into words. She knew that this time, her plan to help Xiao find his true feelings hadn't been fully successful yet. Watching his back fade away, Jiang Yan couldn't help but wonder why Zhou Wan was trying so hard to help Xiao. Zhou just softly replied that all of this was a debt she owed him. A while later, Xiao went to find Zhou and suggested they go out together again tomorrow. He confessed he didn't know where to go, but Jiang Fan said he had an idea, and Gu Meng would join them too. Hearing that, Zhou agreed right away. Unexpectedly, the place Jiang Fan chose was an amusement park. As soon as they met, Jiang Fan grumbled because Xiao had called him in the middle of the night to act out a scene without even giving him time to think of any lines. Xiao immediately teased him, saying his acting was even worse than Gu Meng's. What an idiot! Jiang Fan didn't back down, saying that the real idiot was Xiao. If he liked Zhou, he should just ask her out directly instead of being all shy like a teenage girl. The whole group quickly got into the lively games. Laughter never stopped as everyone drove bumper cars. Xiao kept crashing his car into Zhou, making the whole scene really funny. Then Zhou wanted to get on the Ferris wheel, but Xiao was so scared of heights that his legs turned to jelly and he didn't dare step on. Seeing how scared he was, she pulled him over to eat popcorn. While they were sitting and eating, Zhou asked Xiao if he had come up with an idea for his new painting yet. Instead of answering, he pointed his camera at her and took the chance to ask why she was trying so hard to help him, demanding she give an honest answer. Zhou sincerely said she just hoped he could do what he loved, and at the same time, she didn't want to owe him too much. Even though she didn't know if she was doing it the right way, she really wanted to help him. Realizing those words came from the bottom of her heart, Xiao immediately went to buy a bouquet of flowers for her. That night, while rewatching the footage he filmed of Zhou, Xiao couldn't stop smiling. His heart was moved by a happiness that was hard to name. Right after that, he stayed up all night to paint a portrait of Zhou. When the painting was almost finished, Zhou suddenly walked into the room, giving him a huge scare. Xiao immediately blocked the door, refusing to let her in because he was afraid she'd find out about his secret crush on her. Zhou just reminded him to check Jiang Fan's messages. After checking them, Xiao realized Jiang Fan had an emergency and was rushing him to get there. Once Zhou left, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out Jiang Fan wanted Xiao to film a video of him wishing Gu Meng a happy birthday, but he kept stuttering and couldn't get the words out. Seeing that, Xiao turned the camera toward Zhou. She burst out laughing and teased him, saying that Jiang Fan usually talks so much, yet he couldn't even say a few simple words. That was when everyone found out Jiang Fan had liked Gu Meng for a long time. Xiao laughed and called him an idiot, then asked when he realized he had those feelings. Jiang Fan shyly admitted it was since the time the whole group went to the amusement park. That day, because he was scared of heights, some people teased him, and Gu Meng stood up and scolded them to defend him. Xiao just chuckled because he had noticed it a long time ago. Jiang Fan then begged the two of them for help in winning Gu Meng over. Right after that, Zhou invited Gu Meng to a bakery and asked if she had ever liked anyone. Gu Meng laughed and said the person asking that question is usually the one with a crush, and she even guessed that the person Zhou liked was Xiao. Zhou denied it right away and asked her back. Gu Meng said knowing if you like someone is simple. The moment you open your eyes, the first person who pops into your head is the one, and your body instinctively wants to be near them. Zhou sighed softly, thinking that after the summer, she and that person might not have another chance to see each other. Gu Meng, however, thought that nobody can predict the future. The important thing is to cherish the current moments so you won't have regrets later on. Later, Jiang Fan came up with an elaborate confession plan. He planned to hide inside a giant gift box placed at the school, and Zhou would be in charge of bringing Gu Meng there. Everything went smoothly at first, but Gu Meng suddenly wanted to go to the sports field instead. Luckily, Jiang Fan had a backup plan ready. If Gu Meng went to the field, Xiao would wear a teddy bear suit and bring a gift to lead her to the spot they had set up. Unexpectedly, at the most critical moment, Jiang Fan couldn't get a hold of a security guard, and his phone died too. Being stuck in the gift box for too long, he almost couldn't breathe, so he had to poke a small hole to call for help. Just as Jiang Fan was about to suffocate, Xiao showed up just in time to rescue him. As soon as Jiang Fan got out, he started crying and complaining because he had been scared out of his wits. Meanwhile, Zhou successfully brought Gu Meng to the spot they had prepared. Seeing the elaborately decorated scene, Gu Meng was really excited. Seeing the person in the teddy bear suit standing there, she thought it was Jiang Fan, so she kept hitting his back to tease him. Right at that moment, the birthday gift box popped open. Jiang Fan stepped out, soaking wet and holding a cake, to wish her a happy birthday, leaving Gu Meng frozen in surprise. As for Jiang Fan, he felt both self-pitying and like crying because the plan had so many mishaps, and even the cake had melted and lost its shape. Seeing that, Gu Meng kept praising the cake as beautiful and saying his preparation was amazing. Zhou still thought the person in the bear suit was the security guard, so she took the lead to pull him away to give the two of them some private space. Jiang Fan took the chance to tell her about all the hardships he had suffered, from spending all his lucky money to being locked in the gift box with a broken fog machine that kept spraying his face, almost suffocating him. After walking a bit, Zhou realized the person in the bear suit was actually Xiao. Looking at his silly appearance as he didn't dare reveal his identity, she could only try to hold back her laughter and pulled him along to buy some water. On Jiang Fan's side, after pouring his heart out, he finally gathered his courage to confess his feelings to Gu Meng and asked her to be his girlfriend. But Gu Meng didn't agree. She thought Jiang Fan had spent too much money on this confession and wondered where he would get the money to take care of her later. Plus, in the future, the two of them might have to have a long-distance relationship. Those words made Jiang Fan extremely sad and disappointed. At Shi Zhao's clumsy look in the bear suit, Zhou Wan couldn't help but laugh. Then she texted him asking where he was. Shi Zhao struggled for a while before he could reply to the text, which made Zhou Wan find it even funnier. Not waiting any longer, she walked straight up, took off the bear head, and teased him that he had talked big before saying he wouldn't come. Shi Zhao immediately blamed Jiang Fan, saying that because he begged so much, he reluctantly showed up, and he also reminded Zhou Wan that she had to take responsibility for his perfect track record being affected. Zhou Wan just laughed and told him to just head home first, and they'd talk later. Right after that, Shi Zhao sat on the back of the electric scooter, so Zhou Wan could drive back. Zhou Wan kept telling him to hold on tight, so he wouldn't fall, but Shi Zhao calmly took out his phone to record a video. Looking at the helmet with the funny little antenna on her head, he couldn't help but laugh. But because he was riding on the back without a helmet, the two of them were quickly pulled over by the police. Faced with the officer's warning, Zhou Wan and Shi Zhao could only keep bowing and apologizing, promising they wouldn't do it again. The next morning, Shi Zhao rode his motorcycle to take Zhou Wan to Uncle Li's place, where he used to hang out a lot when he was a kid. Stepping into the shop, Zhou Wan curiously looked around and discovered there were many paintings hanging there done by Shi Zhao's mom. Seeing her looking so intently, Shi Zhao immediately ran over to stop her, not wanting her to see pictures of him as a child. Zhou Wan realized his mom used to love her son very much, but Shi Zhao coldly thought that it was all fake. Right then, Mu Yi ran over to ask for help. It turned out the little boy's kite was stuck in a tree, so he wanted Shi Zhao and Zhou Wan to get it down. Since he was afraid of heights, Shi Zhao didn't dare to climb up, so Zhou Wan volunteered to climb the tree to get the kite, but she unfortunately slipped and fell. Luckily, Shi Zhao rushed over just in time to catch her. Both of them fell onto the grass, and the heart-shaped kite fell right on top of them at that exact moment. In that moment, Zhou Wan and Shi Zhao just quietly looked at each other and smiled, enjoying a rare feeling of peace. After that, Shi Zhao and Mu Yi ran off to fly the kite. At that time, Uncle Li sat and talked with Zhou Wan, commenting that Shi Zhao really liked her. He told her that in the past, his mom often brought him here to sit and paint under the big tree, but ever since the family tragedy, he had only come here quietly by himself. Shi Zhao used to be very withdrawn, but now he was much more open and happy. Hearing those words, Zhou Wan couldn't help but reflect on it. She quickly ran out to the wide meadow to play and fly the kite with Shi Zhao under the clear blue sky. In that familiar place, looking at the childhood scenes he shared with his mom, Shi Zhao slowly found back the inspiration that he had lost for so long. A little while later, Zhou Wan softly shared that sometimes she couldn't clearly remember her father's face anymore. What she feared most was that one day she would completely forget him. But the older she got, the more sure she felt that her dad had loved her very much. Hearing that, Shi Zhao thought that sometimes the more blurred memories get, the easier it is for people to paint more beautiful things over them themselves. Zhou Wan shook her head slightly. She said that if he really didn't believe his mom loved him, then why did he still miss her so much? People can lie, but feelings and actions don't. Those words made Shi Zhao think for a long time. Later that afternoon, when Zhou Wan fell asleep under the big tree, Shi Zhao sat quietly next to her, watching her. He had a rare, gentle smile on his face. After a while, he gently woke her up and showed her the painting he just finished. In the painting, Zhou Wan was standing under a massive ancient tree. The scene was both peaceful and full of life. Looking at that work, Zhou Wan couldn't hide how surprised she was. Shi Zhao looked at her for a long time and smiled, admitting that he finally found what he wanted to paint. The inspiration he had been looking for all this time was Zhou Wan. When they got home, Shi Zhao thanked Zhou Wan for spending the whole day with him. He wished her good night, which made Zhou Wan smile instinctively. But as soon as she walked into her room, she saw Xian Ling waiting for her. She said the rest of the money was ready and a kidney donor had been found. Yet here Zhou Wan was, putting all her effort into helping Shi Zhao finish his portfolio. Right then, Shi Zhao walked in. Seeing him show up, Xian Ling immediately changed her tone, saying she only came to ask about Zhou Wan's studies before quickly leaving. After she was gone, Shi Zhao gave Zhou Wan the painting he did of her that afternoon and asked what she had said. Zhou Wan just quietly replied that it was just a few words of concern about her schoolwork. Shi Zhao didn't suspect anything else. He just mentioned that Jiang Fan had planned a hangout for everyone tomorrow, and since he had to get ready to meet the professor, he would show up later. Zhou Wan nodded in agreement, but as soon as Shi Zhao went back to his room, Xian Ling showed up again. She bluntly asked if Zhou Wan liked Shi Zhao, and that's why she was constantly going against her, while also pressuring her to find a way to get him abroad quickly. When she saw the painting Shi Zhao just gave her, she immediately tore it to shreds. Zhou Wan tried to stop her but was too late. She could only watch helplessly as the paper was ripped apart. After Xian Ling left, she sat there picking up the pieces of the painting while crying. The next morning, at a barbecue with her friends, Zhou Wan curiously asked Gu Meng if she liked Jiang Fan. Gu Meng blushed and admitted she liked him just a tiny bit, which made Zhou Wan burst out laughing. Right at that moment, Jiang Fan was eavesdropping and got caught by Gu Meng, immediately getting a few warning punches. Shi Zhao brought some water to Zhou Wan and asked if she liked the painting he gave her. Even though it hurt her hard because the painting was actually destroyed, Zhou Wan still smiled and said she loved it. Later, when Shi Zhao went inside, Brother Ping gave Zhou Wan a can of beer. Unexpectedly, after just a few sips, she got drunk fast, dancing and singing karaoke, making everyone not know whether to laugh or cry. Meanwhile, Xiangling sneaked into Shi Zhao's art studio and swapped the painting he was going to turn into Professor Qin. By the time the hangout was over, Zhou Wan was totally wasted. On the way home, she kept complaining that her feet hurt. Shi Zhao leaned down to check and saw her shoelace was untied, so he carefully tied it for her. That little gesture made Zhou Wan's eyes well up. After that, without saying another word, he just carried her on his back. In her drunken state, Zhou Wan started crying, confessing that she had done something really terrible. She felt regret but felt like there was no turning back, even accepting that she was a bad person, though in the end, she might not get anything out of it or be able to change anything at all. Hearing this, Shi Zhao admitted that he wasn't exactly a good person either. But Zhou Wan shook her head and said that the people she liked were all good, just like him and Gu Meng, who were wonderful people she cared about a lot. Those words made Shi Zhao's heart skip a beat, and a happy smile crept onto his face. After taking Zhou Wan back to her room, Shi Zhao watched her messy but adorable sleeping face and couldn't help but smile. In that moment, all his worries seemed to disappear, leaving only a quiet joy in the heart of the boy who was falling deeper and deeper for her. Before Shi Zhao took his portfolio to turn it in the next morning, Zhou Wan rushed over to cheer him on, believing he'd definitely get accepted. But the second she stepped back inside, Xiangling coldly told her that their deal was over and Zhou Wan could move out of the Lu house. Hearing that, Zhou Wan realized right away that Xiangling had messed with Shi Zhao's portfolio. She ran back to her room to search the closet and found the real portfolio that Xiangling had hidden there to frame her. Unable to put up with it anymore, Zhou Wan bluntly declared that the deal between the two of them was over from now on. She warned that if Xiangling dared to touch Shi Zhao again, she would expose the whole truth. Right after that, Zhou Wan grabbed the folder of paintings and ran to find Shi Zhao. When she ran into a traffic jam, she didn't hesitate to get out of the taxi and ran all the way to Pingchuan University. There, she brought the paintings Shi Zhao had done to Professor Qin and explained that he had accidentally grabbed the wrong portfolio. After looking them over, Professor Qin said he hadn't even had a chance to see Shi Zhao's work before Shi Zhao proactively asked to paint a new one right then and there. Taking that chance, Zhou Wan quietly hid the fake portfolio and left, making up an excuse that she was busy. When looking at Shi Zhao's new painting, Professor Qin commented that the brush strokes were still a bit rushed, but perhaps because time was so tight, he couldn't fully show his true potential. From Professor Qin's words, Shi Zhao finally found out that it was Zhou Wan who brought the paintings to help him. He immediately went back home to find her, but he only saw that the painting he had given her had been torn to shreds. While feeling sad and confused, he heard Kailan reveal that Xiangling had been married before and had a daughter named Zhou Wan. That news left Shi Zhao completely shocked. Kailan thought that Xiangling and her daughter had planned everything in advance to get into the Lu family, but Shi Zhao still didn't believe Zhou Wan was that kind of person. What he couldn't understand was that if it was all a lie, why did she risk everything today to help him bring his portfolio to school? At the hospital, Dr. Chen announced that a surgery schedule had been set for Zhou Wan's grandma, but the family had to pay an upfront medical fee. Having no other choice, Zhou Wan had to go to Uncle Fang to borrow money. When he found out the person needing surgery was Xue Fun, who had helped him with a meal years ago, Uncle Fang immediately agreed to lend her 200,000 yuan. With the money in hand, Zhou Wan quietly packed her bags and left the Lu house. What worried her the most wasn't where she had to go, but that Shi Zhao would misunderstand and think she was the one who tore up the painting he gave her. But just as she was getting ready to leave, Shi Zhao blocked her way. He wanted her to explain everything, wanting to know if she didn't want to be his sister, or if she simply didn't want to keep sucking up to him anymore. He promised he wouldn't blame her if she was willing to tell the truth. But Zhou Wan just stayed silent, and then coldly turned her back and walked away, leaving Shi Zhao standing there with disappointment and a broken heart. A while later, while Zhou Wan was working at the arcade, as soon as she saw Shi Zhao show up, she immediately dodged him. But when she went outside, she was blocked by Luo He's gang. Luo He was full of malice, itching to see what would happen to her once she fell into his hands. Right at that moment, Shi Zhao showed up and was about to charge into a fight with Luo He. Not wanting things to get serious, Zhou Wan quickly lied that he was just there to collect rent and then hurry back into work. Shi Zhao felt like something was off, so he immediately made a bet with Luo He. If he won the basketball game, Luo He had to tell him why he was targeting Zhou Wan, and if he lost, he would accept any condition. The game started quickly. While Zhou Wan was working at the arcade, she heard that Shi Zhao and Luo He were facing off on the basketball court, so she ran over immediately. When she got there, she realized they weren't fighting but were actually competing. However, Luo He kept using dirty tricks to make things hard for Shi Zhao's team. Against that style of play, Shi Zhao quickly changed his strategy, making the game super intense. When the first half ended, neither side had taken the lead. During the break, Luo He went to buy water and saw Zhou Wan. He didn't hesitate to throw threats and vulgar words at her, mocking that sooner or later, neither she nor Shi Zhao would have any peace. He even used filthy language to insult her. Facing him, Zhou Wan didn't show any fear at all. She bluntly said that in this lifetime, Luo He could never beat Shi Zhao. Even if he won by using cheap tricks, there would be no glory in it, and it would only make others look down on him even more. Those words made Luo He fly into a rage. He immediately pushed Zhou Wan down and started beating her. It was only when two of his lackeys rushed to stop him that the second half of the basketball game continued in an extremely tense atmosphere. Both teams gave it their all, keeping the score neck and neck, making it impossible for the crowd to look away. In the final seconds, Shi Zhao's team suddenly turned the tables and won by a hair. Witnessing that moment, Zhou Wan was overjoyed. Gu Meng excitedly ran over to celebrate with Zhou Wan, but as soon as she saw the blood on her forehead, she got worried right away. Zhou Wan just brushed it off, saying she accidentally bumped into something. Right then, Shi Zhao also walked over. Zhou Wan quickly made an excuse that she had to go to her part-time job to leave, but he immediately held her back. When he noticed the wound on her forehead, he immediately grilled her to find out who had bullied her. Zhou Wan kept dodging, but seeing how angry Shi Zhao was, she finally had to say the name Luo He. Right then, Luo He drove up. As soon as he saw him, Shi Zhao immediately rushed over and got into a fierce fight with him to get justice for Zhou Wan. After the scuffle, Shi Zhao's hand was hurt too, so Zhou Wan carefully helped him disinfect the wound. On the other side, Gu Meng and Luo He were arguing with the police to settle who was right or wrong, while Shi Zhao kept questioning Zhou Wan about what was going on between her and Luo He. He didn't understand why she got bullied but didn't know how to run away, especially since she's usually as quick as a duck. Zhou Wan helplessly explained that she had twisted her ankle at that moment, so she couldn't run. Hearing that, Shi Zhao got even angrier. When he found out her leg was also hurt by Luo He wanted to rush out again to settle the score with him, but Zhou Wan quickly stopped him. Right then, the police asked Shi Zhao to go to the station for questioning. A while later, after leaving the police station, Shi Zhao took Zhou Wan to Uncle Kang's noodle shop. Seeing his annoyed face, Uncle Kang thought the two of them had just fought, so he spoke up to advise him that no matter what happens, a man shouldn't treat a girl badly. Hearing that, Shi Zhao immediately fired back, insisting that he always treats Zhou Wan very well. Then he suddenly left, leaving Zhou Wan sitting there eating noodles by herself. It turned out he just went to buy medicine. When he checked her right leg and saw the clear bone bruise, Shi Zhao couldn't hide how much it pained him. He gently applied the medicine for her. That kindness made Zhou Wan's heart keep fluttering. After that, she promised she wouldn't keep avoiding him anymore, but she also hoped he wouldn't force her to tell things she couldn't talk about yet. Seeing her willing to open up and promise not to dodge him anymore, Shi Zhao also seriously demanded that from now on, if anything happened, she had to tell him right away and absolutely not hide it. Zhou Wan then acted cute, complaining that her leg hurt a lot. Seeing that, Shi Zhao didn't say another word and just carried her on his back to take her home. Seeing the two of them finally getting along again, Uncle Kong stood from a distance and smiled happily. After Zhou Wan gave him directions, Shi Zhao carried her back home. Along the way, he kept reminding her to hold him tight so he wouldn't fall. When they arrived, Zhou Wan wanted him to stop at the door, but Shi Zhao absolutely refused and carried her all the way up to her house. Seeing she was all alone in the house, he asked where her grandma was. Zhou Wan replied that she was still in the hospital. Receiving a sincere thank you from her, Shi Zhao just smiled softly and turned to leave. After going inside, Zhou Wan boiled some water and quietly looked at her dad's photo. She couldn't help but ask herself if she was being too selfish. She wanted to save her grandma, but at the same time, she didn't want to keep hurting Shi Zhao anymore. On Shi Zhao's side, when he got back to his room, he sat and looked at the painting he had done, his mind full of thoughts. He didn't know how many more secrets Zhou Wan was hiding, or how many more times she would break his heart. He wanted to text her many times, but in the end, he didn't have the guts. Looking at the flower pot Zhou Wan gave him that was slowly withering, he thought to himself that if she was determined to play this part, he would just play along with her until the end. The next morning, as Zhou Wan was getting ready to take things to the hospital for her grandma, she found the faucet in the house was broken, and water was flooding the floor. Right at that moment, Shi Zhao showed up with a flower pot, but he ran into Jiang Yan who had just arrived too. As soon as Zhou Wan stepped out, Shi Zhao handed her the flower pot and asked her to save it. While Jiang Yan went in to fix the faucet, Zhou Wan carefully wrote down every step for taking care of the plant for Shi Zhao to do. She even casually bragged that Jiang Yan was really good at everything, even gardening. Hearing that, Shi Zhao got jealous right away and asked if she only called Jiang Yan over to borrow stuff from his house. Zhou Wan explained that she had called a repairman, but no one would come. Thinking the faucet was fixed, Zhou Wan stepped over to check, and right then water suddenly sprayed out hard. Shi Zhao reacted super fast, immediately using his body to shield her. The two of them stood in the middle of the splashing water, looking just like a couple in love. Zhou Wan quickly handed him a towel to dry off. After checking carefully, Shi Zhao found the problem wasn't the pipes, but the water valve. In no time, the faucet was fixed. Zhou Wan wanted both of them to stay for dinner to say thanks, but since the house was still a mess, Jiang Yan suggested they go to his place to eat. As soon as they got there, Zhou Wan went to the kitchen to cook. Jiang Yan gave Shi Zhao a set of clothes to change into. While in the room, Shi Zhao accidentally saw an old childhood photo of Jiang Yan and Zhou Wan together, so he bluntly asked if Jiang Yan liked her. Right then, Zhou Wan walked in and asked if he could eat spicy food. Seeing the two of them talking, she quietly walked back out. During the meal, Zhou Wan couldn't help but keep looking at Shi Zhao. Jiang Yan's clothes made him look much more well-behaved than usual. But right at that moment, Jiang Yan's mom came home, and as soon as she saw Shi Zhao, her face completely changed. Zhou Wan quickly explained that her faucet was broken, so Shi Zhao came to help, but she didn't care and flat out kicked him out. Seeing that, Zhou also immediately stood up and left with him. After leaving the house, Zhou didn't ask anything else. Ever since she saw Jiang Yan get into Mr. Lu's car on his birthday before, she had somewhat guessed the truth. Xishao didn't hide it anymore and said that years ago, while walking with his mom, he had seen with his own eyes his dad being with another woman, and they even had a child together. Jiang Yan was actually born 6 months before him. After hearing that, Zhou gently advised him not to let things from the past affect the present. That care made Xishao feel extremely happy. Then he asked Zhou to continue taking care of the flower pot for him. While walking around her house, Xishao accidentally found Zhou dead papers. Hearing her footsteps approaching, he immediately pretended like he hadn't seen anything. He changed the subject to Luo He, asking if he had come to cause trouble after the basketball game. Zhou replied that Luo He rarely showed up himself. Usually, he just sent his lackeys to collect the debt. Hearing that, Xishao went with her to the hospital to visit her grandma. Meanwhile, Jiang Yan's mom kept reminding her son not to forget how the Lu family had looked down on them back then. According to her, Zhou trying to suck up to the Lu family was her own choice. And between Jiang Yan and the Lu family's wealth, she believed Zhou would know who to choose. At the hospital, Zhou grandma was very happy to see Xishao. Just then, a nurse came to announce that Zhou had to go pay the medical fees and get medicine. After she left, Grandma confided in Xishao that besides Jiang Yan, Zhou almost had no friends. But she noticed that she treated him very differently, so she hoped he could take her out more often to clear her head. Xishao immediately agreed. Right after that, Dr. Chen came to announce that Grandma's current condition could only be fixed with a kidney transplant, and the surgery cost was about 300,000 yuan. At this point, Xishao finally truly understood the pressure Zhou was carrying, and also knew the money she borrowed was to save her grandma. After meeting Dr. Chen to ask for more details, he learned that Zhou had been trying to get back the missing money from her mom. Investigating everything on his own, Xishao finally understood all the pain and hardship Zhou had gone through all this time. The more he understood, the more his heart broke, and he felt bad for her, and at the same time, the more he hated Xiangling for being the source of all the misery Zhou had to carry. While Xiangling was directing the maid to decorate the room, Xishao came home. He coldly asked if it was true that as long as he went abroad to study and she successfully married into the Lu family, she would give the promised money to Zhou. That question left Xiangling frozen, and for a moment, she didn't know how to respond. The next morning, Xiangling went to the hospital to visit Zhou's grandma, but her real goal wasn't to check on her. It was to subtly bring up that Zhou was at the age for dating. She purposely said that there's nothing wrong with having feelings at this age. It's just that Xishao comes from such a good background and is a rich kid, so she worried Zhou might get tricked. But Grandma thought Xixiao's character was very good. Hearing that, Xiangling couldn't hide her disappointment, and then she continued to hint that if the two of them really became a couple, they could be considered childhood sweethearts. And besides, Zhou wouldn't even need that much money anyway. Those words immediately made Grandma's face change. Meanwhile, when he saw his dad come back, Xishao took the initiative to say that he would go abroad to study finance, just like his dad wanted. The only condition was that he had to return his mother's painting. Hearing that, Zhongyu agreed right away. After Xishao left, Xiangling walked over and said she would prepare the full amount of money she promised. According to her, going abroad to study finance was an opportunity that many people wish for but never get. Xishao didn't want to hear any more of those fake words. He just told her to keep her promise to Zhou. On Zhou's side, she had finished signing the loan contract and was getting ready to take it to Uncle Fong. But right then, Xiangling called to announce that in just 2 days, the money would be transferred to her account, and she added that Xishao was about to go abroad. Hearing that news, Zhou immediately panicked and went to find Xishao. While running, she kept calling him over and over, but he didn't pick up at all. She hurried to the motorcycle repair shop and then to the arcade, but there was still no sign of him. Not giving up, she ran to the Lu house, but he wasn't there either. At this time, Xishao was sitting alone in a quiet place, quietly looking at his familiar motorcycle. His heart was filled with endless sadness and disappointment. After searching everywhere with no luck, Zhou had to go back to the hospital to visit her grandma. But her mind was still racing, and she couldn't calm down at all. Grandma was quietly getting ready for the worst. Since she didn't want the surgery, she sat there knitting a sweater for Zhou to wear when it got cold. She was scared she wouldn't have enough time left to wait. Zhou had no idea what she was thinking. She just happily said that the medical bills were all taken care of. She told her that as soon as they found a matching kidney, she could have a surgery, and everything would definitely get better after that. When Xishao was mentioned, Zhou's face immediately turned bright red from shyness. Just by looking at her, Grandma knew her granddaughter really liked him. She gently said, "Being in love is a great thing. You shouldn't spend all day just hanging around the hospital. If you like him, just follow your heart." Plus, she could see in Xixiao's eyes that he truly liked Zhou, because eyes are the one thing that can't lie. Hearing those words, Zhou just smiled slightly and said, "Relationships can wait. What I want most right now is for you to always be by my side and never leave me alone." The two of them hugged each other tightly, getting emotional with feelings that were hard to put into words. Xishao took his favorite motorcycle to Brother Ping's shop, asking him to help sell it, so he could gather money to help Zhou. Before leaving, he even told Brother Ping to transfer the money to him as soon as the bike was sold. At the hospital, Dr. Chen accidentally let it slip to Zhou Wan that Xiao had been asking about the surgery and hospital costs for her grandma lately, and it seemed like he really wanted to help her. Hearing that, Zhou Wan was totally shocked. She immediately ran to the repair shop to find Xiao, only to find out he was about to go abroad and was even selling his motorcycle. Right then, Zhou Wan saw a video of Xiao climbing over a building railing to save a girl who was trying to commit suicide. Without a second thought, she rushed off to find him. Zhou Wan ran up to the rooftop as fast as she could. Xiao was already afraid of heights, so while his head was spinning, he saw the girl named Shui. She is the image of his mother from years ago, and he kept trying to tell her to stay calm. Just then, Zhou Wan also arrived, working with him to encourage Shui not to give up on life. It turned out she wanted to kill herself because her parents were stopping her from being in a relationship, forcing her to do things she didn't like, and trying every way to control her life. To help her calm down, Zhou Wan talked about her own rough life. Her dad passed away when she was little, leaving behind a mountain of debt. Her mom couldn't handle the pressure and left, and when they met again, she even pretended they were strangers. After that, her grandma got really sick, making her miss the college entrance exam. Even though things were tough, she always tried to keep moving forward, doing everything she could to make money so her grandma could have a better life. But because of money, she had also lied to people and even hurt the important people around her. Hearing those words, Shui realized Zhou Wan had gone through much more pain than her, but still didn't give up on life. So, she slowly started to calm down. But just as she was about to step inside, she saw her mom show up, and her emotions immediately exploded. She was afraid that if she went back, what was waiting for her would still just be scolding and beatings. Her mom was crying and promising that from now on, she'd agree to whatever Shui wanted to do. Zhou Wan also sincerely advised her that if she really jumped, the people who loved her would have to carry that pain for the rest of their lives. Xiao choked up and said that his mom had also jumped from a building right in front of him years ago, leaving a wound he could never forget. So while there was still a chance to choose, don't let the people who love you witness such a painful thing. Zhou Wan also promised to help Shui find a way to fix everything. But the girl's mood was still up and down, and in a moment where she lost her cool, she suddenly slipped. Luckily, Xiao caught her in time, but he was almost pulled down himself. Seeing that, Zhou Wan immediately rushed over and grabbed his hand tight. However, the weight was too much, causing both of them to lose their balance. At the most critical moment, the rescue team below had inflated the air cushion in time, helping both of them escape the accident by a hair and saving their lives. When taken to the hospital, as soon as he woke up, Xiao immediately ran to Zhou Wan's room to check on her. But at that same time, Zhou Wan was also going to his room to check on him, so they both went in opposite directions looking for each other. A little while later, they finally met and hugged each other tight in a burst of joy. After what just happened, Zhou Wan didn't want to keep hiding it from Xiao anymore, so she admitted that Xiang Ling was her biological mother. But Xiao said he already knew about that. Right then, Kailan walked over and pulled Xiao aside to talk privately. During that time, Shui came to thank Zhou Wan and said she was going to a different city for college and also breaking up with her boyfriend because they weren't a good fit to start a new life. Hearing that, Zhou Wan was also happy that Shui had regained her optimism. After that, Xiao asked Zhou Wan to go sit on the swings. He shared that his fear of heights started from the day he saw his mom jump off a building with his own eyes. His mom came from a high-status family, and after coming back from studying abroad, she had met Zhong Yan. The two of them fell in love at first sight and quickly got married. Not long after that, she got pregnant with him. It wasn't until she found out about Zhong Yan's existence that she realized she was actually the one who came later. She once wanted a divorce and wanted to leave Zhong Yan, but she just couldn't do it. Depression slowly wore her spirit down until she was completely hopeless and chose to end her life by jumping off a building. Hearing that story, Zhou Wan gently comforted him, saying she believed his mom was definitely in heaven watching over him and was always by his side. Xiao still thought his mom would be sad, but Zhou Wan kept reassuring him that it wouldn't be like that. She walked over and pushed the swing for him, making Xiao instinctively smile. Zhou Wan encouraged him while pushing the swing higher, as if she wanted to help him toss away all the fears in his heart. When she suddenly hugged Xiao from behind, he was totally shocked. With Zhou Wan by his side, he suddenly realized that this life didn't seem as bad as he once thought. That warmth moved him so much that he burst into tears. Right after that, Zhou Wan even reached out her hand for Xiao to hold. Both of them smiled as they went back home. Zhou Wan got into the kitchen to cook for him herself, while Xiao didn't know what to do except sit there messing around, making her laugh constantly. A little while later, 5 dishes were all laid out on the table, giving Xiao the warm feeling of a real family. When he tasted the food, he didn't expect Zhou Wan's cooking to be that good. Zhou Wan then told him he should learn to cook for when he goes abroad to study, so whenever he misses the taste of home-cooked meals, he could still cook for himself. Hearing those words, Xiao said with a choked voice that he would never forget today's meal. The two of them just smiled and sat around the cozy dining table. After the meal, Xiao offered to do the dishes, and Zhou Wan curiously asked why he decided to study finance and even sold the motorcycle he loved most. Xiao didn't hide it anymore and frankly said it was all because he wanted to help her. Zhou Wan then said she didn't need his help and only wished for him to always be healthy and safe. But Xiao thought that only when Zhou Wan was doing well would he truly feel at peace. Right after that, he gave the house keys to Zhou Wan asking her to stop by and take care of the fish in his house every now and then. Zhou happily agreed and promised to take good care of them. She also sincerely wished that Xiao would always be safe and happy, get to do what he loves, and become the adult he wants to be. Xiao nodded slightly, and then took Zhou to tour the house that was filled with memories of his mother. Xiao led Zhou to the art studio to see the works his mother left behind. Looking at each brushstroke, Zhou could feel that Xiao's mother truly loved him. It was just that back then, she was trapped by so much pressure and pain that she saw no way out, which was why she made such an extreme choice. Those words moved Xiao deeply. He gathered all his courage and asked Zhou if she wanted to date him. The sudden question left her frozen on the spot, her face turning bright red from embarrassment. Seeing her flustered, Xiao just smiled and said he could wait. When Zhou went to the hospital, Dr. Chen said that Grandma wanted to go home for a while to breathe some fresh air. Without thinking twice, she agreed immediately. Grandma told her to take the things home first, while she stayed back to listen to the doctor's instructions and would come back later. Zhou didn't suspect a thing, while in reality, Grandma had decided not to have a surgery and kept telling Dr. Chen to keep it a secret. That night, while lying in bed, Zhou got a text from Xiao reminding her not to forget their date. She smiled happily and agreed. Right after that, Xiao texted again, saying that a long-distance relationship was fine as long as she trusted him. Those messages filled Zhou's heart with joy and anticipation. The next morning, knowing Grandma wanted to go to the temple, Zhou planned to go with her, but Grandma didn't let her, telling her to stay home and rest because she had been too tired lately, and besides, she already had plans to go with Mrs. Li, so there was no need to worry. Right then, Xiao texted her to meet at school at 7 p.m. Knowing he would confess his feelings tonight, Zhou happily went to pick out a painting as a gift for him. But while she was soaked in happiness, she suddenly got a call asking if she was the granddaughter of Mrs. Shuefun. Meanwhile, Xiao was at the abandoned pool, setting everything up for the confession. Just thinking about Zhou made him smile instinctively. The beautiful memories between them kept flashing through his mind, making his heart race. As for Zhou, she was stunned. She stumbled as she ran to the hospital, tears streaming down her face when she saw her grandma's cold body. Her painful cries rang out in a bottomless pit of despair, making her whole world completely fall apart. At the abandoned pool, Xiao waited and waited but didn't see Zhou show up, his heart full of disappointment and sadness. The next morning, he went to find her immediately. He saw Zhou coming back in a daze, wearing the wool scarf Grandma had knitted and crying uncontrollably. He understood what had happened. Zhou looked at the peace charm Grandma got for her, and her heart was breaking even more. Xiao gently held her hand and told her that from now on, he would go wherever she wanted to go. Then he hugged her, using his warmth to tell her that he was still there and would always be by her side. After that, Xiao waited for Zhou to go buy some things. She bought all the foods that Grandma used to love when she was alive. Xiao knew she liked lively places, so he suggested inviting all the neighbors to give her a final send-off. Zhou nodded in agreement. She went to buy fruit while Xiao took the initiative to go to every house to invite everyone. He also went to Jiang Yan and his mom to ask for help picking a memorial photo. Hearing that Zhou's grandma had passed away, Jiang Yan was stunned, and his mom immediately told her son to go with her to pick a photo. Before leaving, Xiao didn't forget to give a sincere thank you to Jiang Yan's mom. While Zhou, Jiang Yan, and his mom were handling the funeral, Luo he brought flowers to pay his respects. Seeing Uncle Fong was also there, Zhou told Jiang Yan and his mom to head home first. She said she would handle everything here herself. Hearing that, the two of them had to leave. Uncle Fong bowed before the casket, left some condolence money, and told Zhou to stay strong. Then he said he would waive her rent for the next few months. But Zhou said she had already gathered 9,000 yuan for 3 months' rent and gave it to Luo He. Hearing that, Uncle Fong just told her to find him if she had any trouble later. Then he turned to remind Luo He that Grandma Shuefun once did him a favor. Right then, Xiao brought Zhou's neighbors to give Grandma a final send-off. Seeing everyone arrive one by one to give their condolences, Zhou was so moved that she couldn't stop crying. A little while later, Jiang Fan and Gu Meng also came to light incense and gave Zhou a camera. No one expected that Grandma had secretly asked someone to record a final video to say goodbye to everyone. Seeing her image on the screen, Zhou was beyond heartbroken. All the effort and hardship she had endured hoping to save Grandma now felt meaningless. In the video, Grandma hoped Zhou would go back to college and see the big world out there, because you only live once. She hoped she would have a bright life, and she would always be smiling from above, watching and quietly being with her. Those final words made Zhou and everyone there sob uncontrollably. After the funeral, Zhou brought her grandma's memorial photo home. Right at that time, Xiao got some important news, so he had to ask Jiang Yan to look after Zhou for him, while promising to be back really early the next day. It turned out Xiangling called Xiao back to get him ready to head abroad. She brought up the promise again that as long as he went to study abroad, she would transfer the money for Zhou to treat her grandma. But when she heard that Zhou's grandma had passed away, Xiangling was also very surprised. Knowing Xiao hated her, she could only say that even if he left, she would still transfer that money to Zhou as promised. By nightfall, Jiang Yan couldn't stop looking toward Zhou's room because he was so worried about her. The next morning, Zhou woke up, boiled a kettle of water, and quietly clean the house. She tried to act like she was fine, but every time she saw her grandma's photo, the pain in her heart tortured her even more. Outside, the water in the kettle had already boiled over the stove for a while, but Jo-won had no idea. She was like a lost soul, lying on her grandma's bed to feel the little bit of warmth left behind. Right then, Shishao came and knocked on the door. After calling her name with no answer, he panicked, climbed onto the roof, jumped into the yard, and even used his hand to smash the glass door to break inside. As soon as he entered, Shishao smelled a strong scent of gas. He immediately turned off the stove, opened all the windows, and carried Jo-won to the hospital. Luckily, she was taken to the ER in time, so the toxic gas hadn't affected her nerves. She just needed to be monitored for a few more days before she could be discharged. After listening to the doctor's instructions, Shishao went back to the room and saw that Jo-won was awake. He held her hand tight and kept checking on her. Jo-won explained that she didn't want to commit suicide at all. She was just too tired and didn't notice anything. She told him to go home, but Shishao absolutely refused to leave the hospital. Right after that, Gu Meng and Jian Fan also came to visit, trying to tell all sorts of funny stories to make Jo-won laugh. But no matter how interesting the stories were, she still couldn't cheer up. A little while later, because she was too tired, she drifted off to sleep again. Jian Yen saw Shishao and took the initiative to apologize for not taking good care of Jo-won. But Shishao thought that the person who deserved the apology was actually Jo-won. The next morning, Jo-won woke up, but because her eyes hurt, she didn't want to pull back the curtains. Even though she could already be discharged, she still wanted to stay for a few more days because this place made her feel better, and she herself didn't have any strength left. Shishao gave her water to drink, but she refused and only wanted to keep sleeping. He wanted to take her outside to get some sun, but she also refused. Seeing him constantly advising her, Jo-won finally lost her cool and told him to just leave her alone. Hearing that, Shishao couldn't help but ask if her grandma would want to see her in her current state, not eating and not drinking. Jo-won completely broke down. She burst into tears and screamed that she really couldn't do it anymore. Don't force her to smile. Don't make her pretend to be strong. Her dad was gone. Grandma was gone too. She had nothing left. Faced with Jo-won's emotional breakdown, Shishao kept apologizing and pulled her into a hug to comfort her. All the self-pity she had bottled up for so long finally came pouring out. Jo-won held him tight, sobbing uncontrollably. As soon as Jo-won was discharged from the hospital, Shishao took her to his mother's old house. He carefully spread out new blankets on the bed for her to rest, while he took the initiative to sleep on the sofa. During all that time, he constantly stroked her head gently and held her so she would know that no matter what happened, he would always be there to protect her. The next morning, Shishao got up very early, messing around in the kitchen intending to cook for Jo-won himself, even though he had no idea how to cook. When he saw her wake up, he immediately brought her water and asked what she wanted to eat so he could order takeout. After getting everything ready, he suggested waiting for the rain to stop so he could take her for a walk, and Jo-won softly nodded in agreement. During their conversation, Shishao talked about the sad days after his mother passed away. He had once been lost in despair, but time eventually helped him move past it all. So, he believed that Jo-won's pain would also fade away over the years. Shishao gently held her, constantly encouraging her. He said that in the future, even through heavy rain and strong winds, Grandma would still be like a tree shielding her from the storm. When winter came, she would turn into a sweater to keep her warm. No matter where or in what form, Grandma would always be with her, and so would he. Afterward, Shishao took Jo-won to the beach to look at the view. Amidst the sound of the whispering waves, Jo-won shared that before the age of 9, she would sincerely make a wish every birthday because her dad once said the wishes of good children would come true. But since the age of 9, she hadn't wished for anything else. Hearing that, Shishao asked if tomorrow were her birthday and she could have one wish, what would she want? Jo-won thought for a while and then said she just wanted to go back to a normal life starting tomorrow, return to her part-time job at the arcade, and move back home to live like before. Hearing those words, Shishao just silently nodded in agreement. That night, seeing that Jo-won was fast asleep, Shishao quietly left the house and rushed to the arcade. He stayed up all night taking part in a challenge just to win the prize, which was a bicycle. A gift he wanted to give to Jo-won. The next morning when she woke up and saw Shishao still sleeping on the sofa, Jo-won left him a note and went to work. As soon as she got to the arcade, Xiao-Chi told her that Shishao had been playing there from the night until 4 a.m., and in the end, he even took the prize bicycle away. Hearing that, Jo-won immediately ran home. As soon as she arrived, she saw the bicycle placed neatly in front of the door. Shishao had quietly fulfilled her old wish, the wish to have a bicycle to go to school. That moment made Jo-won feel so moved her heart felt tight. She called Shishao right away. Hearing the ring, he had just woken up and hurried to answer. Jo-won sincerely thanked him for this special gift. Shishao just explained that all the bike shops were closed last night, so he had to try his best to win the bike at the arcade to bring back for her. Jo-won asked if it was tiring to carry the bike to the 3rd floor all by himself, but Shishao just softly replied that it wasn't tiring at all. He even wished that from now on, every step in her life would be easy and smooth. Hearing those words, Jo-won was so moved she choked up. She said that in the future, if she wanted to bring the bike back down, he definitely had to help her carry it to the 1st floor. Shishao laughed and happily agreed. After the call ended, Xishao quietly took out his phone again and took a photo of the note Zhou left him, keeping it as a very precious souvenir. On this side, Uncle Fong called Luo He to meet him and coldly asked if he had made a lot of money over the last 2 years. From what Zhou told him, he knew Luo He had been charging her 3,000 yuan a month for rent on his own. Hearing that, Luo He panicked and kept bowing to apologize, but Uncle Fong still poured boiling water on his hand until it burned. Even though it was painful, he still had to keep bending over to admit his mistake and promise not to do it again. Uncle Fong just coldly told him that whatever he swallowed, he had to spit it all back out. Then he had his men drag him outside. At night, Xishao called Zhou. On the surface, he wanted to hear her talk, but really, he was worried she couldn't sleep. Zhou sadly shared that she really wanted winter to come fast so she could see the snow. Hearing that, Xishao made a date to go see the snow with her at the end of the year. Listening to his deep, warm voice, Zhou slowly fell asleep. Seeing she was fast asleep, Xishao smiled softly and kept the call on until morning. During that time, he also finished a painting of Zhou standing in front of the huge ocean. Early in the morning, Xishao still hadn't hung up the phone and was quietly at Uncle Kang's shop to buy a special bowl of noodles. Right then, Zhou was woken up by a noise. Seeing the call hadn't ended yet, she asked if he was coming to her house. When she found out Xishao was at the noodle shop, she walked into the living room and asked who the person outside was. The person appearing at Zhou's door was none other than Luo He and his gang. Because he was angry that she snitched to Uncle Fong, he ordered his lackeys to take everything valuable, and whatever they couldn't take, they smashed to pieces. When they were about to destroy the bike that Xishao gave her, Zhou rushed over to stop them right away but got pushed down. Luo He even grabbed her hair and choked her violently. Right then, Xishao arrived just in time, pushed him away hard, and quickly handed the phone to Zhou to call the police for help. After calling the police, Zhou immediately used the phone to film the whole chaotic scene as evidence that they were assaulting someone. When they heard the police sirens, Xishao purposely shoved the phone right in Luo He's face, making him quickly use his shirt to cover his face. Not long after, the police arrived and arrested Luo He's whole gang and took them to the station. Jiang Yan also rushed over, and seeing that Zhou wasn't seriously hurt, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. After that, Zhou and Xishao went with the police to the station to give their statements. When leaving the police station, Xishao said that from now on, Luo He wouldn't dare find her to cause trouble anymore. Zhou worriedly told him not to be so reckless next time because she didn't want to see him get hurt. Xishao just kept reassuring her that everything was okay, telling her not to worry too much. Right then, Uncle Fong's men came over and invited both Zhou and Xishao to meet him. After getting the house deed back, Zhou immediately left with Xishao. Right then, Xishao got news that Grandpa was in the hospital. Hearing that, Zhou wanted to go with him to visit him, and Xishao also agreed to take her along. When they got to the hospital, Xishao told Zhou to wait outside, and then he went into the hospital room alone. Seeing that Grandpa was perfectly fine, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Xiangling took the initiative to find Zhou to talk, asking if she had any plans for the future yet. She thought the Lu family all lived in luxury, and Xishao was born in a position where he never had to try hard his whole life, which was totally different from people like them. She admitted she accepted living small and always bowing just because she was so scared of the poor days in the past. According to her, Zhou was both beautiful and smart, and she could totally choose another path instead of continuing to get involved with the Lu family. Hearing those words, Zhou calmly shot back that her mom never understood how she had lived all those years. If she didn't even understand her own biological daughter, then what right did she have to understand Xishao? In her eyes, Xishao wasn't someone who saw feelings as a tool. He knows how to feel heartbroken for his family, feel sad about losses, and is also capable of loving sincerely just like anyone else. Xiangling just laughed and said that Zhou stubborn personality was truly just like her father's back then. Zhong Yu and Kai Lan argued about the company dispute. Kai Lan questioned on what basis he was so sure that the 10% of shares in Xixiao's hands would belong to him. Zhong Yu replied that it was because Xixiao was his biological son. In the evening, Xixiao and Zhou went out to eat together, and Zhou even hand-fed him a piece of meat, which made Xixiao unable to hold back a smile. Xixiao said that his grandpa didn't plan on going to the wedding either because he thought it would be too loud, so he would stay here for now to take care of him when he was free. After that, Xixiao shared that in his eyes, Zhong Yu did everything for profit and money. Even this time, the fact that he wanted him to show up at the wedding was only because of the 10% of shares in his name. As long as I'm there, everyone will think that everything is still one big happy family. Hearing that, Zhou advised him to forget about the past, to forget both Zhong Yu and Xiangling, and live his own life. Xixiao smiled and agreed, then told her to go home and rest, but Zhou wanted to stay by his side for a little longer. That night when Zhou returned, Jiang Yan took the initiative to apologize for not telling her earlier about the relationship between him and Xishao. Zhou didn't blame him at all, because Jiang Yan had never asked about the relationship between her and Xiangling either. After that, she said that in the coming days, she would go to the hospital often because Xixiao's grandpa was sick. Jiang Yan nodded slightly, and said he knew Xixiao had helped her a lot, so it was understandable that she was taking care of him now. But as long as Zhou needed him, he would always be there for her. The next morning, Zhou brought breakfast to the hospital for Xiao. She carefully reminded him that no matter how busy he was, he shouldn't skip breakfast because it was the most important meal of the day. Zhou also mentioned that she had run around to all the convenience stores to gather each of the food items. Hearing that, Xiao just smiled. He said he would be taking his grandpa out of the hospital in a bit because it would be better for him to recover at home during these days. Besides, it wouldn't make sense for a son to get married while his father was stuck in the hospital. Hearing that, Zhou said she would drop by to see Dr. Chen. Because while her grandma was alive, he had taken care of her very devotedly. Xiao agreed right away. From what a nurse said, Zhou found out Dr. Chen was in the cafeteria. So she went looking for him. But as soon as she got there, she accidentally overheard the doctors mentioning her family. From that conversation, she learned that years ago her dad actually still had a chance for surgery, but because the burden was too big, Xiangling chose to give up. That truth left Zhou stunned. When she saw Dr. Chen coming out, she immediately asked if her dad could have kept living back then. Dr. Chen sighed and said it wasn't exactly like that. Even if the surgery had been a success, if the follow-up treatments weren't kept up with, he wouldn't have lasted very long anyway. Plus, her dad himself felt the hope was too slim at the time, so he didn't want him to tell her the specific details. After hearing that, Zhou bowed to thank him and quietly left. Tears kept falling. She hated Xiangling for taking away her father's last chance and for taking all the money he left behind to go find an easy life. In her heart, Zhou secretly swore she had to get justice for her father. On this side, Xiao took Grandpa to the car and then Grandpa asked if he needed to attend the wedding. Grandpa just laughed and said if he wanted to go, then go, and if not, it was no big deal. After Grandpa got in the car and left the hospital, Xiao turned around and saw Dr. Chen finishing his shift. He casually asked if he had finished talking to Zhou. At the wedding, guests swarmed in to congratulate Zhongyu and Xiangling. After so many years of bowing and sucking up, Xiangling finally officially stepped into the Lu family. While she was gloating in her victory, she suddenly froze when she saw Zhou show up. Zhou immediately questioned Xiangling about her visiting grandma and asked if grandma giving up treatment had anything to do with her. Seeing many people starting to notice, Xiangling immediately denied everything, saying Zhou's grandma's situation had nothing to do with her. She even said she cut the sponsorship because Zhou didn't even take the college entrance exam, while acting heartbroken about being slandered at her own wedding. Right after that, the security guards immediately dragged Zhou out, even though she tried to explain. Right at that moment, Xiao appeared and coldly told all the guards to let go. Seeing his son publicly crash the wedding, Zhongyu was extremely angry. Xiao brought up how he had an affair back then, pushing him and his mother to a dead end. Then he turned to Xiangling and said that the women who were with Zhongyu never ended up well, and he would wait to see if she ended up the same way. After saying that, Xiao took Zhou's hand and walked out of the wedding as everyone watched in shock and Zhongyu fumed. Back at his mother's house, he and Zhou painted to let out all their bottled-up feelings. He didn't want her to keep everything inside because around him, she didn't have to force herself to be a strong adult. He wanted her to just be herself, to be angry, to be sad, and to show how she really felt. Back at the wedding, Zhongyu left for the office in a rage. He booked a flight for Xiangling for the next morning, using the excuse that she needed a vacation, but the truth was he just didn't want to look at her anymore. Shaking and in pain, Zhou choked out that her father should have had a chance to live. Hearing that, Xiao quietly hugged her from behind, comforting her over and over, saying he would always stay with her and never leave. Zhou held him tight and started sobbing. She knew summer was almost over, which meant it was time for Xiao to go abroad. But Xiao told her he wasn't going anymore. He wanted to keep painting and stay with her. Those words moved Zhou so much she could barely speak. After all the loss and heartbreak, she realized she still had Xiao. When she found out Zhongyu got married again, Jiang Yan's mom felt sorry for herself, crying and pushing her son to study hard to prove they weren't any less than the Lu family's kids. But Jiang Yan felt that he and the Lu family had nothing to do with each other, and just living his own life well was enough. Hearing that, his mom said that when Jiang Yan left for school, she would move to Beijing with him. The next morning, Zhou woke up in Xiao's house. As soon as she walked out to look for him, she was surprised with a bouquet of flowers he had ready for her, making her so happy she was all smiles. Xiao told her to change her clothes, and he would take her out. Zhou agreed right away. After that, Xiao took Zhou to Brother Ping's repair shop. There, she was really surprised to find out that Gu Meng and Jiang Fan were officially dating. Everyone happily raised a glass to celebrate with the young couple. When she learned that Xiao was going to meet Grandpa soon to talk about his decision not to go study abroad anymore, Zhou wanted to go with him. But Xiao was worried she'd be sad, so he told her to just wait for him at home. Leaving there, Zhou stopped by a garden to buy plants to bring back and grow in the yard of Xiao's house. She wanted that house to feel warmer and more full of life. After she finished planting the flowers, she sent a voice message to Xiao, saying that she had something to tell him when he got back. Meanwhile, when Zhongyu returned to the main Lu house, he accidentally heard about Xiao's decision to stay in the country instead of going abroad to study. That made him super angry. When Xiao stepped outside, Zhongyu immediately brought up how Zhou caused a scene at the wedding and made him look bad. He even claimed she once blackmailed Xiangling. He used Zhou to threaten Xiao, saying that as long as he agreed to come back with him, she would be safe. After that, Zhongyu revealed that in 2 days, he would take him to have a meal with Uncle Chang. Xiao knew very well that this person always cared a lot about family harmony and believed that only people who could keep their family together could manage a business well. He quickly realized his father wanted to use this chance to prove he was a good dad. Even though Xiao didn't want to, Zhongyu still forced him to obediently go abroad and stop causing more trouble. To keep Zhou out of danger, Xiao finally got in the car with him without saying a word. Right after that, Zhongyu took Xiao's phone and temporarily locked him in a room to keep him from resisting. Outside, Zhou kept calling him but couldn't get through, so she was really worried. As for Xiao, he kept trying to find a way out, but the 2 bodyguards outside were watching him like hawks, not giving him any chance at all. Having no other choice, Zhou went to see Jiang Fan and Gu Meng to ask about the situation. When she found out Xiao was being locked in the house, she immediately wanted to find a way to rescue him. Jiang Yan heard about it and decided to help Zhou too. By evening, Jiang Yan took the initiative to go see Zhongyu. While no one was paying attention, he cleverly stuck a piece of paper in the door crack, so the door couldn't close all the way. Because of that, Zhou had the chance to sneak inside the villa. When he saw Zhou appear, Xiao was totally surprised. He immediately used a small parachute to send a note down, apologizing for breaking his promise and telling her to go back quickly to avoid getting into trouble. But Zhou had no intention of giving up. She refused to leave and even threw a letter upstairs to Xiao, showing her determination to run away with him from this place. Jiang Yan brought some things back to Zhongyu and also announced that after the summer break, he and his mom would move to Beijing to live. Hearing that, Zhongyu advised Jiang Yan to switch to studying architecture. He promised to find someone to support him and cover all the tuition fees, because he knew that was the major Jiang Yan actually loved. He also told him to study hard and not be like Xiao, who was ruining his own future over some personal feelings. Before leaving, Zhongyu even gave Jiang Yan a pen with his name engraved on it, believing that one day he would need it. Meanwhile, Zhou secretly pressed the fire alarm to create chaos, helping Xiao have a chance to get his phone back and find a way to escape. Zhongyu didn't believe there was a real fire at all. He immediately guessed that Xiao was playing tricks. Hiding in a corner, Zhou looked at Xiao and suggested that they both run away together. Hearing that, Xiao smiled, gently pulled her into a hug, and then grabbed her hand to run away. Both of them laughed as they ran, ignoring everything behind them, only wanting to move forward together. But when reviewing the security camera footage, Zhongyu discovered that it was Zhou who sneaked into the house to take Xiao away. That made him extremely angry, and he immediately ordered for both of them to be caught and brought back. Not long after, he even realized that Jiang Yan's earlier visit was actually to help Zhou break into the villa. The whole thing made Zhongyu even more furious, because all of his plans were ruined. Right after that, he switched to a different tactic. Zhongyu proactively asked Jiang Yan to join him the next day for a family dinner with CEO Chang. Jiang Yan coldly asked back, "What if I don't want that opportunity?" But Zhongyu just calmly replied that he would personally come to pick him up tomorrow. Xiao led Zhou to the train station to buy 2 tickets for the snow trip they had both been waiting for. Right then, the first snowflakes of the season started falling. Zhou happily spun around in the white snow. Xiao walked up and grabbed her hand, and both of them laughed and danced, filled with pure happiness. On the train, Zhou leaned her head on Xiao's shoulder and slept soundly. When she woke up, she smiled and said she just had a really beautiful dream. The 2 of them sat by the window, looking at the scenery and the sky outside, their hearts full of joy. They breathed on the cold glass and drew a heart together, then hugged like a couple deeply in love during their sweetest days. After the long journey, the 2 of them finally arrived in beautiful Beijing. In the restaurant, they happily fed each other and played all kinds of games. When they were done playing, they went to get ice cream. But since the weather was so cold, the ice cream stuck to Xiao's tongue, making Zhou burst out laughing. She pulled him into a grocery store to buy water, and then they kept wandering around together. Right after that, they went to a church and accidentally saw a couple having their wedding. Standing on a high floor, Zhou and Xiao kept throwing flower petals to send their blessings. Looking at that happy scene, Zhou was moved and said that even though this wasn't their ending yet, she was very satisfied and wanted to love him with all her heart. Those words made Xiao so happy he felt choked up. He immediately gave her a sweet kiss, filled with all his love and sincerity. Afterward, they even walked into the sanctuary with everyone's blessings. In front of everyone, Xiao vowed to take Zhou as his wife and share all of life's joys and sorrows with her. Zhou also smiled and agreed to take him as her husband. When Zhou took the wedding bouquet from Xiao's hands and helped him stand up, he pulled out a fairy tale book and said that all fairy tales aren't real. Zhou opened that book and found out it was exactly like the storybook she used to ask her grandma to read to her years ago. Right away, memories of her parents and the arguments about the factory having problems came rushing back to her mind, making her panic. Zhou woke up with a start, only then realizing that everything that just happened was just a dream. Lying in Xiao's arms, she smiled softly with happiness, enjoying the peace and warmth right there beside her. The next morning, Zhongyu took Jiang Yan to meet Boss Chang. When he found out Jiang Yan was directly admitted to Huaqing, Boss Chang immediately gave him a lot of praise, calling him a rare talent. After the meal, while sitting in the car on the way back, Zhongyu was very satisfied when he noticed that the way Boss Chang looked at him had changed. He didn't hold back on praising Jiang Yan for doing so well in the meeting today. But Jiang Yan just coldly replied that if he was satisfied, then they could consider themselves even. Zhong Yu argued that everything he was doing was to pave the way for his son's future. Hearing that, Jiang Yan could only let out a frustrated sigh. Meanwhile, Xishao took Zhou Wan to a hotel to rent 2 standard rooms. But when it came time to pay, he discovered that all of his bank cards had been blocked. Although Zhou Wan still had some cash, it wasn't much, so she told him to go outside and find another way. At the same time, Jiang Yan returned home with a heavy heart, only to see his mom leading people to look at the house to rent it out. That made him extremely angry because he had said many times before that he didn't want to rent out this house. All the emotions he had bottled up for so long finally exploded. He furiously smashed the furniture in the room, in pain because he felt like he would always just be a shadow replacing Xishao. On Zhou Wan's side, after counting the remaining money, she realized they had to be very careful with their spending to keep staying in Beicheng to wait for the snow. Right then, Xishao saw a repair shop and immediately ran in to ask if he could buy an old bike for cheap if he fixed it up. The owner saw this and agreed. When he found out the bike was being sold for 200 yuan, Zhou Wan bargained hard to get it down to 150 yuan. Seeing her bargain so well, the owner happily accepted and even promised to give them 2 cans of oil if Xishao could fix the bike. Finally, they bought the old motorcycle for 150 yuan. After that, Xishao rode the bike with Zhou Wan all over Beicheng, looking at the city's beautiful scenery. Everywhere they went, they took photos to save the memories. During those free and peaceful days, both of them were full of happiness, enjoying every precious moment together. To get more money for daily life, Zhou Wan and Xishao decided to look for part-time jobs. When they went to apply for a job at a tourist spot, the female owner there not only hired them but also provided food and a place to stay. As soon as they got the room, the 2 of them cleaned and reorganized everything together to make it neater and cleaner. While eating noodles, Zhou Wan talked about her plan to buy more books to study. Because she always remembered her grandma's wish that she should go to college and step out to see the big world. Seeing Zhou Wan seriously planning the future for both of them, Xishao laughed, thinking that she would definitely keep a tight leash on him in the future. Right after that, he sincerely promised that from now on, he would spend all 4 seasons of the year with her. When they went to the bookstore, Xishao took the chance to tease Zhou Wan, saying that in the future, every time his score improved by a certain amount, she had to give him that many kisses as a reward. Hearing that, Zhou Wan's face turned red immediately, and she shyly told him to talk a bit quieter. After that, Zhou Wan and Xishao took turns calling Jiang Fan and Gu Meng to let them know they were safe, and also told them that they were living very happily in Beicheng. At night, after finishing work, the 2 of them finally had a chance to exchange the gifts they hadn't been able to give before. Zhou Wan gave Xishao a picture frame, and Xishao gave her a photo of the 2 of them standing together in the schoolyard. Looking at those seemingly simple gifts, they both felt like fate had meant for them to meet. Full of happiness, Zhou Wan and Xishao held each other tight, cherishing that peaceful and sweet moment for a long time. The next morning, when Zhou Wan came back from looking for a lost puppy, she was surprised to find Xiao's aunt, Kai Lan, had found them. She asked Xishao that while going abroad was for studying and his future, what exactly was his current life for? Xishao said that if she wanted him to make a deal, he had one condition. His bank cards were currently blocked. He didn't want Zhou Wan to live in this place in poverty forever. Hearing that, Kai Lan immediately agreed and told Zhou Wan to come out. Zhou Wan hurried over, holding the puppy. Kai Lan looked at the 2 of them and said she only came to see how their life was going. She didn't expect a rich kid like Xishao to handle hardship better than she had imagined. Before heading back to Pingchuan, she told them not to worry about anything else because she would handle it all, then she drove away. Xishao didn't know how to cook, so he could only order takeout. Seeing Zhou Wan running back, he immediately hid the bag of food. But while she was eating, the owner came to ask for her cooked chicken dish, which made Zhou Wan realize right away that he had taken the owner's food to trick her. While Xishao was out delivering things, Zhong Yu suddenly called Zhou Wan. He said that 10 years ago, her father's construction materials factory almost caused a building accident because of a batch of cut materials, and that matter was related to Guo Yan, also known as Xiang Ling. According to him, Guo Yan had been a buyer at the factory for many years, so there was no way she didn't know the consequences. But in the end, the person who had to take all the blame was only Zhou Jun. Hearing that, Zhou Wan immediately realized that Zhong Yu had known about the relationship between her and Xiang Ling for a long time. But he said that didn't matter and told her to name her price. As long as she obediently brought Xishao back, he promised to meet all her demands. After saying that, Zhong Yu hung up, leaving Zhou Wan standing still with her thoughts in a mess. When Xishao came back from delivering food, he saw Zhou Wan hadn't started eating yet, so he checked on her. Zhou Wan smiled and said she wanted to wait for him to come back so they could eat together. During the meal, Xishao said that a few days ago he got a call from the prep school asking him to come back to pick up some files, so they should head back for a few days. Zhou Wan planned to go back for only 2 days and then return, leaving Xishao there to take care of the puppy, Xiao Lu. But Xishao wanted them both to go because he was worried she would be in danger if she went back alone. Hearing that, Zhou Wan suggested they head back quietly and then quickly return to Beicheng, which made Xishao laugh and agree. Before heading out, Xishao took Zhou Wan to a famous glass bridge. Even though he was afraid of heights, he still tried to keep walking for her. Zhou Wan held his hand tight, gently leading him forward, constantly reassuring him. As long as I'm here, there's no need to be afraid. If we fall, we'll fly together. Those words made Shishao smile and nod. Following Zhou encouragement, Shishao slowly opened his eyes, but as soon as he looked down, he panicked and hugged her tight, his legs shaking nonstop. Zhou immediately told him not to look down but to keep his head up and enjoy the sky and the grand mountains in front of him. Shishao did as she said and slowly stopped paying attention to the height, so his fear faded away a lot. Zhou softly said that from now on, they should both look forward and keep moving up. Hearing that, Shishao gave her a sweet kiss. Right at that moment, the first snowflakes of the season started to fall. Both of them were so excited because they had finally waited for that moment. According to the legend, lovers who hold hands under the first snow will be together until their hair turns gray. That made Zhou and Shishao believe even more in their future, and they happily held hands as they finished walking across the glass bridge. The next morning, after picking up a dandelion, Zhou and Shishao made a wish together that they would be together forever. Then they went back to their old high school to visit Ms. Yang and pick up their registration files to retake the college entrance exam. When Mr. Zhao showed up, Shishao gave him a bouquet of flowers to say thanks. Ms. Yang asked out of curiosity where they had been that they only came back now to get their files. Zhou happily told her they had gone to see the snow together. Hearing that, Ms. Yang smiled and thought the trip was a good way to relax and get ready for the upcoming exam. Right then, Gumeng called to check in because she knew they were back but hadn't said anything. After the call, Zhou said goodbye to Ms. Yang and Mr. Zhao and left with Shishao. They held hands and ran across the familiar schoolyard with happy smiles on their faces. On the other side, Zhongyu found out that Shishao and Zhou were back at school to get their files, so he immediately sent Xiao Chao to go pick him up. When Shishao went back to his mother's house to pack his things, Xiao Chao also drove over to pass on Zhongyu's message, wanting him to come back and talk. Because he didn't want to get Zhou in trouble, Shishao reluctantly agreed. Meanwhile, as soon as he was released, Luo he immediately ran to Brother Sin to ask to stay. But Brother Sin coldly told him the boss didn't trust him anymore, so he couldn't help. Right after that, Luo he was kicked straight out, making him extremely angry. At the same time, Xiangling came back from her vacation. But following Zhongyu's orders, Xiao Chao blocked her right at the door and wouldn't let her set foot in the Lu house again. That made Xiangling feel a lot of regret, because she had once thought she was only one step away from the upper class. Zhongyu wanted Shishao to transfer back his 10% share, so he offered a price 30% higher than Kailan's to buy all those shares. Not only that, he promised to let Shishao do whatever he wanted. But Shishao just coldly replied that his cold-bloodedness and selfishness would one day have a price. I only came here today to make it clear that I'm leaving, and from now on, I don't want anyone to look for me again. After saying that, he turned his back and walked away. Zhongyu was furious and ordered Xiao Chao to make sure Shishao didn't leave Ping Chuan at any cost. As soon as he stepped outside, Shishao ran into Xiangling again. She bitterly threw out a threat saying, "If I can't have peace, the Lu family shouldn't hope to live well either." Shishao just calmly replied that her schemes and plots would only bring trouble on herself in the end. Xiangling gritted her teeth in anger but couldn't do anything. Shishao hurried to find Zhou, telling her they should leave tonight because he was worried Zhongyu might lose control and come looking for her to cause trouble. Zhou shared that Zhongyu had called her before wanting to make a deal, promising to meet any condition as long as she brought Shishao back, but she refused. Hearing that, Shishao hugged her emotionally and told her that from now on, she had to tell him everything. Zhou said the train for tonight was sold out, but she had bought the earliest ticket for the next morning. They would meet at the train station, and from there, they wouldn't look back. They would live a free life together. Thinking about that, Shishao couldn't hide his happiness. Meanwhile, seeing Jiang Yan arrive, Zhongyu gave him a custom-made suit to wear. When Jiang Yan went into the room to change, Grandpa Lu suddenly showed up and scolded Zhongyu for getting worse every day, only thinking about shares and profit, and even taking his illegitimate son to meet Boss Chang as a tool to suck up to him. Standing in the room, Jiang Yan heard the whole conversation, feeling both humiliated and furious. When he heard Grandpa Lu insist that only Shishao was worthy of inheriting the family business, and that Jiang Yan wasn't even a fraction of him, the resentment in Jiang Yan's heart rose up fiercely. Even so, he tried to hold back his tears. After Grandpa Lu left, Zhongyu walked in and said that this was the Lu family if he wanted to be recognized. He had to prove his own value. Jiang Yan just stayed silent. By nightfall, knowing that tomorrow Zhou would go to Beicheng with Shishao to study and live, Jiang Yan could only let out a sad sigh. Finally, he gathered all his courage and grabbed Zhou hand, hoping she could stay here. Jiang Yan couldn't hide his heartbreak, repeatedly asking Zhou where exactly he was lacking and why the person she chose had to be Shishao. Zhou just gently let him know that she always saw him as a friend. Hearing that answer, Jiang Yan had to accept the truth and wished her happiness. With sadness in his heart, Jiang Yan went to a bar to drink alone. Unexpectedly, he ran into Luohi there. When he was teased that Shishao had stolen Zhou, Jiang Yan angrily let it slip that Zhou was back. Hearing that, Luohi immediately came up with a plan for revenge. The next morning, Luohi had his men kidnap Zhou and put her in a car. Even though she struggled and screamed for help, he still forced her to breathe in a sedative. When she woke up, Zhou found her hands and feet tied up tight. Luohi immediately used her phone to call Shishao, forcing him to come to the spot he specified. At first, Xiao didn't believe Zhou Wan was kidnapped, but Luo he immediately slapped her hard in the face, making her speak up. Hearing the sound of Zhou Wan being hit over the phone, Xiao was angry to the extreme and immediately rushed off. While waiting, Luo he kept slapping Zhou Wan's face because she wouldn't cooperate. A while later, Xiao arrived at the scene. Immediately, Luo he held a knife to Zhou Wan's neck, forcing him to stand still and take a beating. When they forced Xiao to kneel, Zhou Wan burst into tears and begged him not to do it. But for her safety, Xiao put away all his pride and knelt in front of those people, which made Luo he very satisfied. Zhou Wan could only scream and cry in pain, repeatedly begging him to stand up. Luo he even took out his phone to record that humiliating scene to satisfy his own pride. While no one was paying attention, Zhou Wan secretly untied the ropes on her hands. She pretended to fall to the ground, waited for Luo he to come close, and suddenly grabbed a stone and hit him hard on the head. In the chaos, Luo he held a knife and tried to stab Zhou Wan. Xiao didn't hesitate to rush in front of her, taking the knife hit himself. Luo he's lackeys also rushed in and kept hitting him with clubs. Only when they were scared of killing someone did they panic and run away. Zhou Wan completely broke down in extreme panic. Despite the pain from the serious wound, Xiao still tried to reassure her that he was okay. But right after that, he passed out as Zhou Wan screamed in despair. Right then, the police arrived at the scene just in time. Afterward, Xiao was rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. Grandpa Lu, Kailan, and Zhongyu hurried over in a panic. Seeing his son's condition, Zhongyu kept blaming Zhou Wan, saying she was the reason Xiao got hurt. Zhou Wan was completely broken down at that time. Grandpa Lu later met with Zhou Wan and told her that Xiao used to be a very good child, but because he went through too many tragedies, he became rebellious like he was now. Until he met her, he could see that Xiao truly loved her. But according to him, Xiao and Zhou Wan belonged to two different worlds, and the things she did only ended up getting him caught in unnecessary trouble. If he hadn't met her, his life might have always been smooth sailing. Therefore, he begged her not to appear in Xiao's life anymore. Those words made Zhou Wan hesitate. She quietly promised that as soon as Xiao was safely discharged, she would leave. Right then, Kailan came over with news that the surgery was a success. As soon as the anesthesia wore off, Xiao would wake up. After going home, Zhou Wan made some nourishing soup herself and brought it to the hospital, asking Miss Chen to give it to Xiao. Miss Chen agreed to help, and since Zhou Wan wasn't allowed to visit, she could only stand outside all day waiting, hoping he would wake up soon. Seeing how pitiful she was, Ms. Chen finally snuck Zhou Wan into the hospital room. Looking at Xiao lying still on the bed with all the life support machines beside him, her heart felt like it was breaking. She choked back tears and told him that Luo he might go to prison for many years and would never have a chance to bother her again. After being in a coma, the next morning, Xiao finally woke up. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Zhou Wan asleep by the bed, so he gently reached out to stroke her head. Right then, Zhou Wan woke up and hurried to scoop some soup for him to drink. When she saw Grandpa Lu and Kailan arrive, she planned to leave, but Xiao immediately held her back. Because he loved his grandson so much, Grandpa Lu finally accepted it. As long as Xiao woke up, he could have whatever he wanted. Hearing that, Xiao told Zhou Wan to keep feeding him the chicken soup and even purposely made her take responsibility for him, which made Zhou Wan laugh. Right after that, Zhou Wan went outside to ask Grandpa Lu for permission to stay and take care of Xiao until the day he was discharged, and Grandpa Lu finally agreed. In the days that followed, every morning, Zhou Wan brought food to the hospital, making Xiao extremely happy. But every time she went back home at night, she was sad and looked like she lost her soul because she knew the day she had to leave him was getting close. The next morning at the hospital, Zhou Wan heard the doctor say that in just 2 more days, Xiao would be discharged. She even hoped the doctor would check more, so she could stay with him longer, but the doctor insisted Xiao's health had recovered very well. In the hospital room, Xiao happily ate the food Zhou Wan brought and said that once he was fully recovered, he would talk to Grandpa Lu so they could both head back to Beicheng. Hearing that, Zhou Wan just said they would figure that out later. She made an excuse that she wanted to go down to buy bread, and then quickly left. Looking at her back, Xiao immediately felt that something was wrong. Zhou Wan went back to Xiao's house, quietly looked at herself in the mirror, and then bowed her head to look at the necklace he once gave her. Her heart felt tight with a sob. Right then, Xiao called to say he would be discharged tomorrow, and told her to remember to come pick him up. Zhou Wan agreed with tears in her eyes. After hanging up, she gently took off the necklace and placed the peace charm her grandma had once gotten for her on Xiao's pillow, only wishing for him to be forever safe and happy, and then quietly pulled her suitcase and left. Before truly saying goodbye, Zhou Wan went to the hospital and cut Xiao's long hair herself. After the haircut, she invited him to go down for some sun. When they walked to a beautiful field of reeds, Zhou Wan suggested playing hide and seek. She hugged him from behind, tears falling nonstop, only hoping that in the future he would get to see the vast world, walk on wide roads, be happy every day, and be safe every year. Right after that, she told Xiao to close his eyes so she could go hide. Hiding behind the reeds, Zhou Wan sobbed and shouted that she had never loved him, and that from the beginning she only got close to him to get money back from Xiang Ling. She knew he wouldn't agree to leave, so she found every way to force him out of here. And from start to finish, she was just using him. Hearing those words, Xiao panicked and kept calling Zhou Wan's name, begging her to come out and talk to him. But Zhou Wan just choked out a goodbye and turned to run away. Xiao kept calling her name in despair, pleading for her to come out and explain everything. He didn't believe the words he just heard were true. He just wanted her to show up and make everything clear. But all that answered him was an empty silence, making Xiao cry out in pain and despair. When Zhou Wan left, Xiao's whole world completely fell apart. He lay still in the field, his eyes blank, not caring about anything anymore. A month later, still carrying the pain and the constant regret, Xiao went drinking with Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan kept advising him that it's normal for lovers to argue, and all it takes is some coaxing to be okay, just like him and Gu Meng. Lin Na had always secretly loved Xiao, so she stepped onto the stage to sing a song for him, which took Xiao by surprise. Jiang Fan looked at her and realized she seemed to be someone from Yang Ming school as well. But throughout the song, only Zhou Wan's image was in Xiao's head. The more he missed her, the more he hurt, his throat feeling tight and unable to speak. The sadder he got, the more alcohol he drank, not caring that his body had just recovered. Right when Lin Na was on stage confessing her feelings to Xiao, Zhou Wan transferred 28,000 yuan to him, messaging that she would earn the rest and pay him back later. Xiao got angry receiving that money, and then because he wanted revenge on Zhou Wan, he agreed to Lin Na's confession. Meanwhile, Zhou Wan was still trying to study to retake the college entrance exam. Over here, Lin Na saw the puppy Xiaolu and wanted to take it as her pet, but Xiao absolutely refused. Right then, Jiang Fan brought a box of things sent from Beicheng. Lin Na curiously opened it and saw a photo of Xiao and Zhou Wan together, which made him immediately lose his temper and tell her not to touch his stuff. Seeing Lin Na home, Xiao bluntly said they shouldn't see each other anymore. Lin Na angrily scolded him, saying he was just using her as a replacement, and then she left. Xiao knew his heart belonged to Zhou Wan, so he couldn't love anyone else. That night, tossing and turning in bed, he accidentally found the peace charm Zhou Wan had hidden under his pillow. He immediately called her, but Zhou Wan didn't dare to answer, making him cry out in pain. Time after time, he kept calling without stopping, and Zhou Wan sat in the library looking at her phone screen, her heart twisting in pain, but she still didn't have the guts to pick up. Xiao kept calling persistently, unable to sit or stand still, tears falling nonstop, only hoping she would pick up for him just once. After hesitating for a while, Zhou Wan tremblingly picked up the phone. Xiao immediately read the prayers on the red paper, so she would know he found the peace charm. He choked up and begged that as long as she said one sentence that she still loved him, he would let everything go. Hearing those words, Zhou Wan was in extreme pain, tears rolling down her face, but she still tremblingly lied that she never loved him, and it was all a trick from start to finish. Xiao both loved and hated her, and in pain declared that she better not let him see her again in the future, or he would definitely make her cry and beg him. The tearful breakup left a wound that could never be erased in both their hearts, as if their hearts were still bleeding nonstop, closing out a long summer full of pain and lies. By October 2016, Jiang Yan was happily playing with his college friends when right then his mom called to ask when he was coming home. He sadly replied that he wouldn't be back for this break, and from now on just let him live alone. Then he quietly hung up. Time flew by to January 2017, when Xiao celebrated the new year with Brother Ping, Jiang Fan and Gu Meng. In the middle of feeling totally lonely, he suddenly saw Zhou Wan appear and gently hug him, making his heart feel like it was coming back to life with happiness. But it was all just an illusion created by how much he missed her. Jiang Fan used a camera to record that moment, while the three of them standing outside could only quietly watch Xiao laugh and cry, dancing alone with a ghost that wasn't there. He used to think that just by fighting back, just by running away regardless of everything, he could go against the whole world. But in the end, he realized that the rebellion of both of them was filled with too many flaws. Time kept passing to July 2017. After months of working hard to retake the exams, Zhou Wan finally got into Huaqing University. She slowly understood that some fates simply cannot be fought or escaped. At age 18, people can't save the whole world, and they can't change anyone either. If the price to change everything is too high, the only way is to learn to accept it. Back to the present in 2026, a lively Zhou Wan appeared on the tennis court. At the company, Li Jin told manager Niu that Zhou Wan believed their partner, who both ran an e-commerce platform and developed a brand, had very strong competitiveness. But manager Niu didn't believe it, even saying he had been in the business longer than Zhou Wan had been alive. Li Jin couldn't get a hold of her, and he kept complaining that she even dared to be late for the proposal meeting. She really was too arrogant. When Yang Zhang showed up, manager Niu handed the plan over to Li Jin to handle. Meanwhile, on the tennis court, Big Zhang saw that Zhou Wan played so well that he wanted to play a match with her. Zhou Wan smiled and replied she could play with him anytime, but if they were any slower, the West Bank Town project of Wan Tua Group would go down the drain. Just as Yang Zhang was about to announce the winning bidder, Zhou Wan and Big Zhang appeared. Big Zhang was angry and scolded his son for having staff investigate things that went nowhere, and then he ordered the announcement that the West Bank Town project would be given to Beijing Construction. Manager Niu was extremely excited when he found out the reason they won the bid was that their rival just lost a lawsuit because their building was rated as a dangerous structure. He kept praising Zhou Wan for working professionally and having excellent skills, and he even gave her the Lanyu Resort project to handle, stating that from now on, rewards and punishments would be clear. Zhou said thanks, and then asked for a day off to pick someone up at the airport. Zhou hurried to the airport to welcome Jiang Yan back to the country. At that same moment, Xishao had also just landed his flight back home but walked in the opposite direction, letting the two of them quietly pass each other once more. The people picking up Xishao this time were Eddie and Jiang Fan. Jiang Yan and Zhou went to a restaurant for dinner together. Jiang Yan said that as soon as he got settled at Lanyu, if she ever needed help, she should just speak up. Zhou smiled and replied that she would try to surpass him and definitely wouldn't give him a chance to open his mouth to help her. Hearing that, Jiang Yan laughed and shared that since he was little, he always thought that if he had a chance, he would definitely take her to a restaurant like this for a meal, and today he finally made it happen. Zhou smiled and said it was all thanks to him, and then she quietly broke the news that Ms. Yang had passed away from a serious illness. She and Gumeng had just seen her off. Jiang Yan was completely shocked and felt regret for not being able to see his teacher one last time. On this side, Jiang Fan told Xishao that all the stuff in the house was still in the same place. Every month they hired someone to clean once. Only the floor got dirty from the workers when they moved the paintings. Xishao walked in and saw there were no fish left in the tank, so he questioned it. Jiang Fan quickly explained that the fish were all taken to the aquarium and were living very well. Xishao was speechless but still sincerely thanked Jiang Fan for taking care of the house for him all these years. The next morning, in the car, Jiang Fan gave a plan to Xishao and said that Eddie would be in charge of developing it further. Right now, both of them were heading to the Ping Chuan Expo Center first. At the same time, Zhou and Jiang Yan brought flowers to the classroom to remember Ms. Yang. Memories of high school suddenly rushed back into both their minds. Even though she was always strict and tough, Ms. Yang actually always loved and cared for her students with all her heart. Zhou realized the classroom had barely changed. Only the desks, chairs, and multimedia equipment were new. She quietly sat in her old seat, and Xiao's image appeared in her head again. Then she silently wondered where he was now and if he still hated her that much. Jiang Yan said he wanted to visit the other teachers. So Zhou told him she had already met them at Ms. Yang's funeral 2 days ago, so she wasn't going. Hearing that, Jiang Yan nodded and left. Right then, Xishao, sitting in the car, saw the high school and wanted to go visit. He stood still in front of Zhou's old seat. While in the next row of rooms, Zhou also just passed by in the opposite direction, letting the two of them miss each other by a hair once again. The deep longing made both of them only look up at the sky, sending thoughts that couldn't be put into words into the wind. Xishao gently blew a dandelion to let the petals fly away. Zhou accidentally saw it and remembered the day they both made a wish on that kind of flower. Even though the distance right now was right in front of their eyes, it felt as far as the horizon, so they still couldn't reunite. After that, Xishao went to the abandoned pool, his eyes welling with tears as everything was still the same, only missing Zhou by his side. A little while later, Zhou also found her way there with an endless longing for Xishao. Hearing footsteps behind her, she thought he had come, but the person appearing was Jiang Yan. Since he had never been to this place, he only found the scenery quite special, and then quietly left with Zhou. The next morning, in a meeting at Lanyu, Zhongyu didn't understand why the resort project, which was founded by the old man himself over 20 years ago, had to hold an internal design competition. Kailan argued that times had changed, and they couldn't just keep holding on to old rules forever. Zhongyu immediately fought back, because the resort project made up more than 30% of the group's profit. That was enough to prove its success. Kailan calmly replied that the subsidiaries of Lan Yu would all join the internal competition. The winner would be in charge of the second phase of the project. This way of doing things both brought in new ideas and reduced risks. At the same time, the project shouldn't always be in one person's hands but should give a fair chance to everyone to compete. Hearing that, Zhongyu was extremely angry but couldn't talk back. Over here, Grandpa Lu was very happy to see his grandson return after studying abroad. Xishao said with a smile that before coming back, he had checked and knew his health was still very good. Grandpa Lu laughed and said the reason was that every day he took more medicine than food, and then asked how long his grandson planned to stay this time. Xishao replied that he came back to hold an art exhibition, so he would stay for a while. Even though he had followed his father's wish to study economics before, what he truly loved was still painting. Hearing that, Grandpa Lu smiled with satisfaction. As long as his grandson was back, it was good, and he could do whatever he liked. At the company, Li Jin was very upset when manager Niu took the report done by Zhou to take the credit. With Zhou's skills, she had deserved a promotion and a raise a long time ago. But Zhou didn't care at all because she didn't want to waste time on useless things. Right then, manager Niu announced everyone would get bonus money from the Wantua project, but right after that, the whole group had to immediately start on the competition for the Lanyu resort, so they would have to work overtime constantly. Over here, Kailan called to give Xishao a hard time for coming back to the country without saying a word to her, and then she made a date for them to have a meal tomorrow. Xishao sincerely said that over all these years, only she and Grandpa were the two people who always loved him the most. He was very grateful for those feelings, but as for the Lanyu matter, he really didn't want to get involved. Kailan didn't force him anymore. She just smiled and told him to find her for a meal whenever he was free. After hanging up, Jiang Fan walked over and said he would move in here temporarily to supervise Xishao in finishing the pile of painting drafts he still owed. Plus, his marriage situation was currently in critical condition, so he had nowhere else to go. Xiao heard that and burst out laughing, saying they had loved each other for 7 years and been married for 3 years, yet he didn't even know the reason they were fighting. Jiang Fan helplessly replied, I really don't get it. Maybe it's because I didn't close the toilet lid or I forgot to hang up the laundry Gu Meng just washed. Over on the other side, Gu Meng came to Zhou Wan's house with tears in her eyes to ask to stay over, making her jaw drop in shock. Gu Meng choked back tears and said that if they weren't currently in the mediation period, she would have already gone to file for divorce. For her birthday, she only wanted a scented candle, but Jiang Fan gave her a whole fire extinguisher instead, saying he bought it to put out the fire since she gets angry easily, and that the scented candle had been custom-made. Zhou Wan could only shake her head, thinking Jiang Fan's mind was truly different from others, but the idea was very unique. Gu Meng continued to share that what she needed most was for Jiang Fan to be by her side when she needed him. But every time she got off work tired, had something happy to share, or something sad to cry about, he was always absent, making her slowly stop knowing what meaning he had in her life anymore. Zhou Wan gently comforted her, saying that if she didn't want to keep forcing it, then don't. If she wanted to cry, just cry without holding it back. Gu Meng choked up and admitted Jiang Fan was getting more and more successful, but she missed the man from years ago, even more the one who only had eyes for her. On the other side, Jiang Fan also opened up to Xiao, saying that their new home was paid for with a down payment they saved up together. Gu Meng insisted on not using his parents' money, and then they paid the mortgage together bit by bit. But the later it got, the busier they both became. That house until now was still just an empty house. He couldn't go back home because he was afraid his parents would find out Gu Meng wanted a divorce. So he had to ask Xiao to let him stay for a while. Xiao heard that and could only nod in agreement. Over here, Zhou Wan told Gu Meng to feel free to stay with her, and she would go to the convenience store near the house to buy more personal items. During that time, Xiao was walking the dog, Xiao Lu, while talking with Eddie about the plan to adjust the colors for the painting. After finishing the call, he accidentally saw a game machine like the one in the old arcade. So he tied Xiao Lu's leash to a tree outside and stepped inside. Once inside, through the employee's words, Xiao learned that the boss had bought this old game machine just as a decoration. He tried testing it and suddenly discovered that the shooting record he set years ago still hadn't been beaten by anyone. Xiao instinctively smiled as all the memories with Zhou Wan at the arcade that year came rushing back. Outside, after Zhou Wan finished buying things, she accidentally saw a dog and leaned down to pet it, completely not realizing that it was actually Xiao Lu from years ago. Just as Xiao walked out, he immediately grabbed her. Tears wouldn't stop falling because he finally met Zhou Wan again after all those years of longing. Both happy and pained, he choked out that this was Xiao Lu, the dog he and the girl he loved used to raise together, but then she abandoned it. He also reminded her of the words he once said not to let him see her again, or she would definitely have to cry and beg. Hearing those words, Zhou Wan's heart ached, and tears quietly fell. But she still tried to hold back all her emotions, coldly saying that she had forgotten many things, and he should forget too. Then she turned and left in tears, leaving Xiao to only give a bitter smile. Returning to the art studio, Xiao couldn't hold back his emotions and kept smashing furniture to vent all the resentment stored in his heart. Meanwhile, Zhou Wan lay in bed tossing and turning all night, unable to sleep at all, while Gu Meng still slept soundly as if nothing happened. The next morning, Jiang Fan went to the art studio and was shocked to see everything in a mess. Xiao was hugging a statue and nodding off in the middle of the messy room. He then asked Jiang Fan if he had known for a long time that Zhou Wan had returned to Pingchuan. Jiang Fan admitted he only found out recently, and because he saw Xiao had worked so hard to get stable again, he didn't want to bring up the past. Hearing that, Xiao could only quietly bow his head, his eyes red. The morning after that, Xiao personally went into the kitchen to prepare a meal to invite Kai Lan, but the real goal was to ask why she lied to him about Zhou Wan. Kai Lan bluntly said that if she hadn't told him back then that Zhou Wan had completely left Pingchuan, he wouldn't have felt at peace going abroad. Plus, the current Zhou Wan was no longer the girl from 10 years ago. Continuing to get involved with each other would only hurt them both more. Xiao calmly replied that over all these years, he had never truly given up, and he still wanted to keep being with her until he himself got bored. Hearing that, Kai Lan could only sigh, and then gave him a document to look at about Lan Yu's biggest project, the Resort Phase 2. She mentioned that if Zhong Yu side won, then competing for the position of person in charge of Phase 2 would be even harder. When flipping through the list of the implementation team, Xiao couldn't help but be stunned when he discovered Zhou Wan was a member of the planning group for the biggest rival against Beijing Construction. The next day, the official bidding session took place. Seeing that the people from Din Thuang still hadn't appeared, Manager Niu was secretly gloating, but right at that moment, Xiao let his team in, making Zhou Wan extremely surprised. Clearly, he had used work to keep finding ways to appear in her life. Xiao casually sat down next to Zhou Wan, but his face was still cold as if they had never met. Mr. Wu spoke up, saying that after this exchange and presentation, he believed all parties would come up with a high-quality plan, creating a solid foundation for the project's future development process. Right after that, Zhou Wan, the representative for Beijing Construction, stepped up to give her presentation. The theme for Beijing Construction this time was a long-term vacation. The goal was for guests to feel like they were coming home to build their dream house, aiming to remove the stereotype that resorts are synonymous with cold luxury and instead bringing a sense of belonging like returning home. Listening to every word Zhou said, Xiao felt even more heartbroken as he remembered the days they spent in Beicheng, where they had a sweet love and once believed that just being together was enough to go against the whole world. On the other side, as soon as Jiang Yan arrived at Lanyu, Xiao Chao gave him an employee ID and led him to meet Zhongyu. He didn't expect that he had been hired by Lanyu. Zhongyu said that Jiang Yan had passed every selection round of the HR department, and only the final approval signature was his. If he gave up the chance to join Lanyu just because of that, it would be a real shame. Hearing that, Jiang Yan could only let out a quiet sigh. Going back to the bidding session, Boss Wu announced the two winners of round 1 were Zhou Wan's Beijing construction and the Dinthuan construction led by Xiao. After the bidding ended, Boss Wu took the initiative to chat very closely with Xiao, making manager Niu very curious about his identity. Right then, Li Jin suddenly remembered that Xiao was the crown prince of the Lanyu group. Hearing that, manager Niu's face immediately turned pale, and he could only groan that they were really in trouble this time. Right after that, everyone from Dinthuan construction went to a karaoke bar to throw a party and celebrate. They thanked the new project director, Xiao, for leading the whole team through the first round. Xiao happily raised a glass with everyone, saying that today they should eat, drink, and have fun to their heart's content. But tomorrow when they wake up, they still had to keep working hard. Hearing that, the whole group responded together and clinked glasses to celebrate. After drinking quite a bit, Xiao went to the restroom to wash his face to sober up. But just as he stepped out, he happened to run into Zhou Wan. Zhou Wan tried to quietly avoid him, but Xiao immediately pulled her into a room nearby, gently pressed her down onto the sofa, and said with a choked voice, "I really didn't think I'd only see you again when I'm drunk, but it feels like you're not the same as before anymore." Zhou Wan gently pushed him away, tried to act calm, and said he had the wrong person. But as she turned to leave, Xiao called out in a raspy voice, "Please don't go and don't leave me all alone." Not having the heart to see him in that state, Zhou Wan had to help him down to the parking garage to wait for the driver to pick him up. When the car arrived, Zhou Wan intended to tell the driver to take Xiao to a 5-star hotel, but he insisted on going home. Having no choice, she changed the address to take him to his mother's house. Zhou Wan was going to get some hangover medicine, but Xiao still held her hand tight, constantly begging her not to leave because he was afraid she would disappear again. In his drunken state, he thought it was all just a dream, so he happily hugged her and gently gave her a kiss. Zhou Wan didn't dodge. She quietly kissed him back because deep down, she missed him terribly. Right after that, Xiao said with a choked voice, "I really miss you so much. As long as you come back, I'm ready to forgive everything, but I don't understand why you were so heartless." Hearing those words, Zhou Wan's heart felt like it was being torn apart. She could only whisper an apology because she didn't want the tragedy of that summer to repeat ever again. The next morning when Xiao woke up, the first person he saw was actually Jiang Fan. He blamed his friend for not keeping Zhou Wan there, but Jiang Fan just casually sat there eating the breakfast Zhou Wan cooked, and kept saying how delicious it was. Only then did he realize that the medicine that helped Xiao sleep best all this time could only be Zhou Wan. After that, Jiang Fan borrowed Xiao's phone to check Gu Meng's social media because he had been blocked by her. But Xiao just helplessly said that even he was blocked now. At the company, manager Niu asked Zhou Wan how they should deal with the crown prince of Lanyu. Zhou Wan calmly analyzed that Beijing still had a chance to win because they had tons of experience, a budget advantage, and were rated higher in round 1. Plus, Xiao had just returned to the country and hadn't truly established himself at Lanyu yet. Hearing that, manager Niu regained his confidence and encouraged the whole team to just focus on working. On Xiao's side, he also called a meeting with all the staff and emphasized that Beijing's biggest advantage was their budget estimate. Therefore, they had to find a way to turn the rivals' strength into their own advantage, determined to win this project. Both sides dived into work at full speed, everyone forgetting to eat and sleep to prepare for the next bidding round. Knowing Zhou Wan was overworking, Jiang Yan brought food to her. While eating, Zhou Wan shared that she always felt like she didn't have luck with family, but Jiang Yan gave her the feeling of a big brother. Hearing that, Jiang Yan smiled and asked, "If I'm already a big brother, can I take care of you forever?" Zhou Wan just gently replied that she still had too many important things to do and didn't have the time or energy to build a romance. Even though he understood, she still had Xiao in her heart. Jiang Yan quietly said he would wait. Right then, Xiao appeared and asked Zhou Wan if she really wanted to win the bidding round tomorrow. Jiang Yan immediately stood up and insisted that there was no longer any relationship between the two of them. Xiao looked straight at Zhou Wan and repeated the words he said years ago, that if they met again, he would definitely make her cry and beg him. Zhou Wan just calmly thought he was being too childish. Hearing that, Xiao turned and walked away, carrying the hope that one day she would have to proactively come to him. Zhou Wan just let out a quiet sigh, took a can of beer to the roof, leaving Jiang Yan standing there with a sadness he couldn't hide. Xiao went home, quietly looked at himself in the mirror, and told himself he had to win the bidding session tomorrow at all costs. When the results were announced, manager Niu could only bitterly admit defeat, while Zhou Wan sat there still, her hands clenched tight to try and stay calm, swallowing all her emotions. The next morning, Zhou Wan and Gu Meng went to the resort to relax. Few people knew that this place used to be her father's factory. Because the business went downhill, the factory had to close. After the land was reclaimed, it was renovated into the resort it is now. Before that, Xiangling had met Zhou Wan and confessed that the person who hurt her father wasn't her. She had hated the wrong person for all those years. She said with a choked voice that the karma she suffered was enough, so she hoped mother and daughter could act like they didn't know each other anymore. After leaving, she drifted for many years in the south, serving tables by day and working as a hostess at night to make a living. Life was extremely difficult, and it was during that time that she met Zhongyu. At that time, she discovered his secretary was the person who once came to buy her family's factory. Even though the other person didn't remember her parents, she understood everything. She realized men all have weaknesses and Zhongyu was no exception. From then on, she knew she couldn't go back to being the Guo Yan of the old days. After getting close to Zhongyu, Xiangling found out that he was the one who conspired with others to make Zhou Wan's father's factory go bankrupt. His goal was to get that piece of land at all costs to build the resort, thereby proving his ability to his father. Before leaving, she also reminded Zhou Wan that Xiao and Zhongyu were father and son. Could the two of them really turn against each other because of this? After hearing the whole truth, Zhou Wan could only try to hold back her tears, coldly telling Xiangling to leave. In her heart, an extreme hatred for Zhongyu rose up for killing her father, and she would make him lose everything he had. Right after that, Zhou Wan proactively met Kai Lan and started a collaboration with the only condition being to join the Phase 2 project team of the resort. Xiao had imagined the day they would meet again countless times, but he never thought his most distant dream would come true this way. Zhou Wan hadn't changed at all, as calm as if nothing had ever happened between them. The next morning, Zhou Wan brought Kai Lan all the documents related to Beixing's construction project, including the private transaction history with the company's high-level executives. In exchange, she only set one condition, joining the Phase 2 project team of the resort. Kai Lan then said that currently, Xiao was not only one of Lan Yu's shareholders, but also the director of the Phase 2 project. Therefore, whether Zhou Wan could join or not wasn't something she could decide alone. Knowing about this, Xiao immediately went to the company to ask Kai Lan about Zhou Wan meeting her. Kai Lan bluntly said she knew Xiao only agreed to join the project because of Zhou Wan, so before she understood his thoughts, she wouldn't rush to accept her request. However, the deal Zhou Wan offered was really attractive. Because of that, she let Xiao decide for himself whether to let her join or not. After hearing that, Xiao just thought in silence. When Zhou Wan returned home that night, Gu Meng said that the number of followers for the art gallery wasn't growing as expected. Since Xiao was the biggest attraction, she wanted Zhou Wan to help out. The next morning, while Xiao was taking promotional photos for the exhibition, Zhou Wan appeared. Seeing her, Xiao just let out a soft sigh, his mind immediately shaken. During an interview where Gu Meng was the host, she asked Xiao if holding this exhibition was a sign he would return to the country to develop his career long-term. Xiao calmly replied that a person who still owed him made him change his decision. After returning, he found out that person was still living very well, so now he was considering whether to collect that debt or not. Hearing that, Zhou Wan understood that every word he said was aimed at her. Not stopping there, Xiao continued to share that there was once a person who made him feel that winter became warm, happy, and worth waiting for. However, that same person pushed him into a deep hole, leaving nothing but pain and regret for the things he missed. Maybe that was how his painting style was slowly formed. Unable to stay and listen any longer, Zhou Wan quietly turned and left. Meanwhile, Xiao could only watch her back with red eyes full of so many emotions. When the interview ended, Xiao walked up and asked Zhou Wan if she ever regretted the breakup during those 10 years. Zhou Wan lied and insisted she never regretted it even for 1 minute. That answer made Xiao fly into a rage. He immediately pulled her to his house and demanded she be a model for him in exchange for letting her join the project team. Having no other choice, Zhou Wan had to accept. While Xiao purposely threw out sarcastic words, Zhou Wan calmly said that over all those years, he only stopped at holding a grudge. Those words made Xiao even angrier. He cornered her against the wall and insisted that years ago, she was the only one at fault. So what right did she have to say those things? After that, he demanded that Zhou Wan become his special assistant from now on. Feeling guilty, Zhou Wan agreed without hesitation. When Gu Meng found out that night, she couldn't help but worry, thinking it was like leading a lamb into a wolf's mouth. But Zhou Wan just calmly said that it was all what she owed Xiao. It didn't matter how he treated her because she had more important things to finish. On the other side, Xiao asked Jiang Fan to pack his bags so Zhou Wan could move in. Hearing that, Jiang Fan could only hug his suitcase and leave in tears, not forgetting to tell Xiao not to forgive her easily because after so many years, it was time for her to pay the price. While Zhou Wan quietly sat and looked at their old keepsakes, Xiao suddenly texted her demanding that she move in with him as his girlfriend by the day after tomorrow at the latest. Zhou Wan could only sigh and reluctantly agree. The next morning, Grandpa Lu found out Xiao had returned to Lan Yu, led Din Thuang to change the bidding plan, and successfully won the right to enter the Phase 2 project, which made him very happy. That same day, when Lan Yu was about to hold a voting meeting, Xiao suddenly appeared. He insisted that if they wanted the Phase 2 project to have more potential to grow, they had to constantly change and innovate. Right after that, the secret ballot officially took place. After the meeting ended, Kai Lan was very satisfied because it had been a long time since she saw Zhongyu look so stunned. Xiao smiled and said that from now on, Lan Yu was finally under her leadership. Right then, Zhong Yu called Shishao to talk privately, blaming him for helping an outsider openly go against his own biological father. Shishao coldly replied that for the last 10 years, he never truly cared if he lived or died. As for today's vote, he only made a choice based on logic and objective analysis. Zhong Yu angrily thought Shishao only came back to Lan Yu for a woman, and in the end, he was still controlled by feelings, saying he had no future. But Shishao bluntly insisted he was never interested in Lan Yu. Today's situation had only one cause, which was that Zhong Yu's ability wasn't enough, and plus, he wasn't that kid from years ago anymore. After saying that, Shishao turned and left, leaving Zhong Yu standing there in a rage. Just then, Jiang Yan walked in and asked when he could officially start working. Zhong Yu said that Kai Lan would be in charge of the resort's Phase 2 project, and he wanted Jiang Yan to be the bridge between the project team and headquarters. Hearing this, Jiang Yan immediately understood that the reason Zhong Yu hired him into Lan Yu was to be his eyes and ears. Zhong Yu also bluntly said it wasn't that he didn't have people to use, he just hoped that person would be his son. One day when Lan Yu belonged to him, it would also belong to Jiang Yan. That night, Jiang Yan invited Zhou Wan to the rooftop to talk. He sighed and said it was hard enough to grow up, but now worries were only growing more and more. Zhou Wan just smiled and thought that at least they were both still trying to chase what they truly wanted to do. Then she announced she was about to join Lan Yu and participate in the resort's Phase 2 project team. Jiang Yan immediately said he was ready to help with anything she needed. Zhou Wan was grateful but gently refused because there were some things she had to finish on her own. The next morning, Shishao personally came to pick up Zhou Wan. He confessed he was just afraid she would quietly disappear again like years ago. By then, he wouldn't know where to find her. Taking Zhou Wan home, Shishao casually arranged for her to stay in the same room with him. Zhou Wan was stunned, feeling Shishao was truly too bossy, but her heart wasn't strong enough to really turn him down. When Zhou Wan finished her shower and walked out, she saw Shishao was still waiting for her. She softly asked if he only called her here for this. Shishao, both loving and hating her, coldly replied, "Do you really think I still love you?" Hearing those words, Zhou Wan quietly unbuttoned her shirt one by one and walked up in front of him. That action didn't just fail to calm Shishao down, it made the emotions he had been holding back for so long explode violently. He pinned her down on the bed and asked her painfully if she really thought this would just wipe away everything between them. After saying that, Shishao immediately turned around and walked into the bathroom. The cold water couldn't wash away the pain in his heart. Instead, it just made the memories and the torment feel even more intense. After he finished showering, Shishao came back out and saw Zhou Wan still lying quietly on the bed. He just silently lay down next to her, but he didn't even dare to pull up the blanket. As for Zhou Wan, she tossed and turned all night and couldn't fall asleep at all. The next morning, Shishao only gave Zhou Wan 30 minutes to get ready and then go to the company with him. He went ahead to join the project meeting. A little while later, Zhou Wan also showed up as Shishao special assistant. But neither of them expected that Jiang Yan would be appointed as the strategic director for the Phase 2 project. After the meeting, Zhou Wan took the initiative to go see Jiang Yan. Through their conversation, she found out he only joined the project team because of Zhong Yu's orders. She also told him that she wouldn't be going home for a while. Before Jiang Yan could even understand why, Shishao walked by right then and coldly called Zhou Wan to go make coffee for him. While Zhou Wan was getting ready to make coffee, she accidentally heard some colleagues gossiping behind her back. They mocked her, saying she used to be a big name at Beijing Construction, yet now she was thick-skinned enough to cling to Shishao. Shishao immediately got angry when he heard those words. When they got back that evening, Shishao listed off a bunch of dishes and made Zhou Wan cook them for him. But when she opened the fridge, she saw there were no ingredients left inside. Zhou Wan had to tell him to just eat some noodles for now, and she would cook him a really big meal once she bought enough groceries. While eating the bowl of noodles Zhou Wan made, Shishao accidentally saw that her hand was hurt. Zhou Wan just softly said it was a burn from cooking for him. Then she talked about the time she worked hard to make a living, like being a runner at a noodle shop, doing cleaning work, and sometimes tutoring. Hearing those words, Shishao was stunned and then offered to wash the dishes for her. He even purposely teased her, saying that if she applied to work at a shop, it would probably go out of business soon, which made the mood between them relax a little. Shishao quietly went into the art room to find a jar of burn cream and brought it to Zhou Wan. Seeing her sitting there nodding off, he had no idea she was actually just pretending. Shishao gently put the medicine on the burn on her hand. That kindness made Zhou Wan smile to herself. Right then, the phone suddenly rang. Shishao immediately pretended to be asleep on the sofa, and Zhou Wan acted like she had just woken up. Gumeng called to say that Zhou Wan's house had a total power outage. Zhou Wan calmly told her to check the circuit breaker first. When she found out that wasn't the problem, Gumeng didn't want to bother Zhou Wan anymore and decided to handle it herself. After hanging up, Zhou Wan looked at Shishao and bluntly called him out for secretly touching her hand earlier, then asked if he only called her here to be a servant. Shishao casually replied, "Who told you that you still owe me?" After saying that, he took Xiao Lu for a walk, and Zhou Wan had to quietly follow along. At the convenience store, Shishao made Zhou Wan go inside to buy milk. But as soon as she finished buying it and walked out, she saw him riding away on the electric bike with Xiao Lu, leaving her to walk home by herself. When she got back, Zhou Wan was busy working, but Shishao purposely made her go heat up some hot milk. Zhou Wan obediently did it, which made him smile with satisfaction. But that joy quickly disappeared when he realized that glass of hot milk was for Xiaolu. Seeing his status wasn't even as high as a puppy, Xiao could only feel hurt and upset. Right after that, he lay down on the sofa and made Zhou stay there and work without going anywhere. The next morning, Gu Meng took her suitcase and went back to the house she shared with Jiang Fan. She coldly took her blankets to her own room, letting him sleep wherever he wanted. The tension between the two was still as high as ever. Over at the company, Xiao was still just talking big, but he was always finding ways to cling to Zhou. While he was pulling her, he accidentally spilled a cup of hot water on both of them. Just then, Jiang Yan walked up, immediately pushed between them, and coldly told Xiao to go wash his own dirty hands. Xiao didn't want to back down, and just casually replied that he had an assistant to take care of it. Then he coldly turned and walked away. After that, Jiang Yan asked Zhou to go visit his mom with him because she hadn't seen her in a long time and missed her. Just as he saw Zhou getting ready to go out, Xiao purposely shouted for her to remember to meet him in the parking garage after work. Zhou immediately sent a text saying she had something to do tonight and couldn't go back with him. Xiao purposely said loudly to remind her not to forget the things she had to do. It wasn't until Zhou texted back that she would come home and cook for him that Xiao was reluctantly satisfied and let her leave. When Jiang Yan and Zhou went to the health center to visit his mom, Zhou found out that Jiang Yan's mom had been suffering from Alzheimer's for 2 years, and her memory was getting more and more blurred. At that moment, she finally understood why he decided to return to Pingchuan after being away for many years. During that time, Xiao kept texting Zhou to ask what he should buy, but seeing her only answer vaguely, he got annoyed and filled the cart with all kinds of food. On the way back, Jiang Yan found out that it was Xiao who helped Zhou get the job at Lanyu. Right then, her phone showed another text from Xiao. Jiang Yan said softly, "I only wish that whenever you face a hard time, you would think of me first." But Zhou only quietly replied that there are some things that friends can't always carry or face together. In the evening, when Xiao drove back, he saw Zhou still standing there talking to Jiang Yan from a distance. Just that one moment was enough to make a feeling of jealousy rise up in him that he couldn't hold back. Just by looking at Xiao's face, Zhou knew he was being sulky again. She explained that taking care of his life didn't mean losing her personal freedom, but Xiao wouldn't listen. He was quietly sulking just because she answered his texts vaguely. That look made Zhou laugh because he acted just like a bossy CEO. At night, Xiao pulled Zhou into his arms, using the excuse that he could only sleep well while holding her, so she didn't dare to move. The next morning, Boss Wang sent fresh flowers to Zhou and invited her to a club in the suburbs to talk about work. He made an excuse that he had to go on a long business trip that afternoon, so Zhou couldn't say no. Before walking in, she quietly turned on her voice recorder. Sure enough, Boss Wang immediately showed his creepy side, trying to force her into something gross. Zhou kicked him where it hurts, sprayed him with pepper spray, and quickly ran away, not even having time to grab her sandals. Back home, Zhou listened to the recording feeling very worried, but she still didn't tell Xiao about the harassment. The next morning, Boss Wang's wife brought a crowd of people to falsely accuse Zhou of being a side chick who seduced her husband. They kept shouting insults, making Xiao extremely angry, and he immediately kicked everyone out. After that, he worriedly checked on her, so Zhou finally told him everything that happened the day before. Xiao tried to hold back his anger and told her to rest for a few days, and at the same time, he immediately assigned Wei to investigate Xinghai Entertainment. While Zhou was working at home, she suddenly saw news that Xinghai Entertainment had been exposed for a bunch of scandalous behavior, shocking all of social media. Right then, Jiang Fan called to ask her to help find Xiao's award certificates. While searching in the art studio, Zhou accidentally found a lot of sleeping pills and Xiao's diary. After reading just the first few pages, she burst into tears with a broken heart. That was when Zhou realized her leaving had left such a deep wound in Xiao's heart that he lived through endless sleepless nights. Her tears kept falling on every page of the diary, her heart twisting knowing he had been suffering in silence all this time. A little while later, Xiao returned home. Seeing him about to go into the kitchen to cook, Zhou obediently stepped up to help him put on his apron. She was still worried that because of her, Xiao had caused Lanyu to lose a long-term partnership with Xinghai. But in Xiao's heart, no one in this world besides him was allowed to bully his Zhou. Remembering the diary and the psychological therapy report she read earlier, Zhou realized Xiao was truly carrying an illness within him. Xiao also admitted that his insomnia wasn't caused by her but had started after his mother passed away. Ever since Zhou appeared, those symptoms had slowly gotten better. So he never blamed her. He also said that if she ever wanted to leave one day, he wouldn't stop her. But Zhou had no intention of leaving because what she wanted most right now was to stay by his side until he fully recovered. Hearing that, Xiao gently hugged her from behind, seeing her as his only cure. Zhou smiled happily and then shared the bowl of noodles they had just made with him. The next morning, Xiao drove Zhou to the company himself. Throughout the drive, he kept looking over at her with gentle eyes and a happy smile, which made Zhou so shy she didn't know how to react. When they entered the meeting, Zhou suggested stopping all collaboration plans with Xinghai Entertainment after everything that happened, while also mentioning that currently only he and Chao Shang were suitable partners. After hearing that, Xiao immediately assigned Zhao Lei and Cheng Feng to work with director Xiang Sang to filter the best partnership list, then announced that he had a very bold idea. Right after that, Xiao met with Kai Lan and expressed his desire to build an independent intellectual property system. He said that as long as she agreed, he would immediately set up a team to get the plan moving. Having absolute trust in her talented nephew, Kai Lan didn't hesitate at all and agreed right away. By evening, Xiao kept texting Zhou. Seeing her phone screen lighting up constantly, her coworkers in the office all thought she had a boyfriend, so they told her to just go on her date and that they would handle the rest of her work. Zhou kept explaining that wasn't the case, but nobody believed her. Sitting in his office, Xiao heard those words and couldn't hide his joy. A smirk instinctively appeared on his face. As soon as he saw Zhou walking out, he followed her, pinned her against the wall, and kept teasing her, saying she was acting like she had a guilty conscience. Then he asked her to go to Jiang Fan's birthday party with him. Zhou said that Gu Meng had already made plans with her for tomorrow, so if she went, Zhou would go along too. The next day, after watching a movie with Gu Meng, they both went to Jiang Fan's birthday party. Seeing the high-end camera gift from Gu Meng, Jiang Fan was visibly happy and excited. Throughout the party, Xiao followed Zhou around like a puppy, always trying to stay close, which made her so shy she had to dodge over to Brother Ping's side. Taking that chance, Brother Ping told Zhou that after she left, Xiao got really sick and became so thin he didn't even look like himself anymore. He spent every day locked in the house and never stopped calling her name. After that, Brother Ping asked if she had ever loved Xiao. Zhou admitted it wasn't that she didn't love him, but that she loved him too much. Because of that, she didn't want the tragedy of that summer to happen all over again. Hearing that, Brother Ping said that Xiao loved her to his core, even more than he loved himself. The fact that he forced himself to grow up so fast was completely for her sake. Right after that, Zhou accidentally saw a video of Xiao missing her so much that he started having hallucinations. That image broke her heart and made her burst into tears. Right then, Xiao walked up and gave her a loving hug. Unable to hold back her emotions any longer, Zhou immediately held him tight. Seeing the two of them Koi Kung work things out, Jiang Fan took the chance to hug Gu Meng, hoping they could make up just like them. Zhou drank a lot and was totally wasted. Xiao gently carried her home, made some hangover tea himself, and patiently fed her sip by sip. Unable to hold back the feelings she had hidden for so long, Zhou suddenly gave him a passionate kiss. But when she accidentally saw the scar on Xiao's chest, she suddenly stopped, feeling so heartbroken she could barely breathe. Xiao said she didn't need to feel guilty. He only did it because he loved her too much and didn't want her to get hurt. He always wanted her to love him and be by his side. But she never trusted him, even though he had begged her, saying that as long as she said one word that she loved him, he would forgive everything. But in the end, she still didn't say it. Hearing those words, Zhou couldn't stop crying, admitting that she used to think if she just lied and said she didn't love him anymore, he would give up. That was her biggest mistake. For all these years, she always forced herself to stay away from him, but there wasn't a single moment where she stopped loving him. Right after that, Xiao and Zhou went back into a burning kiss. The two of them held each other tight in a daze, and that night passed in passionate love after so many years apart. The next morning, Zhou woke up in Xiao's loving arms. Thinking about what happened the night before, she still couldn't help but feel shy. Xiao gently said that this time he admitted defeat and only hoped she would give him a chance to pursue her properly one more time. In response, Zhou gently gave him a kiss instead of saying yes. From then on, the two of them began days of living together in sweetness and happiness. Meanwhile, at the company, Jiang Yan discovered that Zhou was planning a way to deal with Zhong Yan. Now he finally understood why she once said that both he and Xiao weren't suitable to step forward in this matter. The next morning, Xiao and Zhou went to the park to meet boss Lin of Shengshi to discuss a partnership regarding artificial intelligence. The assistant quickly brought both of them up to meet Lin Na. As soon as he saw her, Xiao was totally surprised, while Zhou was speechless to find out that Lin Na was someone he used to date. Xiao took the initiative to apologize to Lin Na for things in the past, saying he was too young back then and hoped it wouldn't affect their discussion today. Lin Na also bluntly said their collaboration offer had been sent to the headquarters, but the chairman rejected it. Hearing that, Xiao immediately guessed the reason, so he hoped Lin Na would give him some time to send a special gift to the chairman. While Xiao sat and painted, Zhou and Lin Na took the chance to talk about him. Lin Na said she knew Xiao from the summer after the college entrance exam, but they only met a few times. Back then, he was always cold, which made her think he was a dry person who didn't know how to show his feelings. Now she finally understood that it wasn't that Xiao was heartless, but just that he hadn't met the right person yet. After finishing the painting, Xiao asked Lin not to give it to the chairman with a message that he hoped for a chance to work together. Leaving there, Zhou couldn't hide her jealousy because she knew Xiao once dated someone else. Seeing that, he quickly explained that back then, she had returned the money to him. Because he was angry, he impulsively dated Lin Na. However, the two only met a few times in a short period and then lost contact. It was absolutely nothing serious. Xiao kept explaining and coaxing her until Zhou couldn't stay mad at him anymore. Right after that, Xiao suddenly appeared with a bunch of balloons and asked to officially date Zhou. His silly question made her laugh. Under the sunny sky, The two looked at each other with smiles and shared a sweet kiss. Because of Shi Zhao's painting, the chairman of Shengshi finally agreed to collaborate, making his whole team beyond happy. Everyone jumped for joy to celebrate this success. Right after that, Zhou Wan took Shi Xiao to visit her dad's and grandma's graves. In front of their graves, Shi Xiao sincerely promised to always love and take care of Zhou Wan for the rest of his life. Hearing those words, Zhou Wan was so moved she burst into tears, and at the same time, she secretly promised to uncover the truth from years ago to get her dad's honor back. Shi Xiao also held her hand tight, promising that no matter what happened in the future, he would always be by her side to face it together. The next morning, Shi Xiao and Zhou Wan went to find Mrs. Wang, hoping to get evidence of Zhong Yan's crimes. At night, Shi Xiao personally cooked a meal for Zhou Wan, and then felt regret, because the two of them couldn't have met sooner to go through every stage of growing up together. Zhou Wan also admitted she hadn't been good enough to him before, and promised to make it up to him many times over in the future. Hearing that, Shi Xiao could only smile happily, pulled Zhou Wan into his arms, and the two shared another night full of love. 2 days later, Zhou Wan and Shi Xiao went back to Mrs. Wang's house and met Manager Wang. When the two asked for the evidence back, he said that the night before, a man had come and taken all the evidence and files related to the land acquisition. He thought it was one of their people, so he handed everything over. Only then did Zhou Wan and Shi Xiao know that person was Jiang Yan. Zhou Wan immediately reassured everyone that Jiang Yan had been her colleague for many years and they could be totally at ease. Right after that, Zhou Wan went to meet Jiang Yan. He said he had looked through all the evidence and the investigation history, but unfortunately, the distributor behind the incident that year wasn't the person who made her father's factory close down. After that, Jiang Yan handed all the evidence back to Zhou Wan and said that whatever Shi Xiao can do, he can do too, even giving her a good life. Finally, Jiang Yan suggested that Zhou Wan come back to him. Zhou Wan flat out rejected Jiang Yan and insisted that her heart only belongs to Shi Xiao alone. To her, Jiang Yan will forever be just a friend. When Zhou Wan walked outside, Shi Xiao immediately broke the news that he had found the distributor who used to work with Manager Wang's factory. However, he still couldn't hide his jealousy because Zhou Wan made him wait for 1 hour just to go see a rival. Seeing him sulking, Zhou Wan gently kissed his cheek to make it up to him. On the other side, Zhong Yan was furious because he was the last one to find out about Shengshi partnering with Lan Yu. He loudly threatened Jiang Yan, saying that since he was the one who put him in his current spot, he could drag him down at any moment. But Jiang Yan didn't back down because in Zhong Yan's eyes, everyone is just a tool to serve his career, to the point that even his own biological son eventually looked down on and hated him. Meanwhile, Manager Wang was cornered by a group of people coming to collect a debt. Only then did he realize that Shi Xiao and Zhou Wan were actually with Lan Yu. At the same time, Shi Xiao discovered Zhou Wan had been kidnapped by Manager Wang, so he immediately told security to call the police and rushed off with Jiang Yan to rescue her. In the car, Shi Xiao was extremely angry because he thought Jiang Yan had made everything a mess. He coldly stated that if anything happened to Zhou Wan, he would definitely not let him off the hook. At this time, Zhou Wan was tied up and taken to an abandoned appliance factory in Yinshan. Manager Wang painfully said that all his tragedies were caused by Zhong Yan. Hearing that, Zhou Wan also told him that Zhong Yan was the one who made her father go bankrupt, forcing her whole family to carry a massive debt. Her father, out of pure frustration and despair, got sick and passed away. But Manager Wang didn't believe it at all because in his eyes, Shi Xiao was still Zhong Yan's son. In a moment of despair, he immediately lit a fire, determined to burn Zhou Wan to death to get revenge. Right then, Shi Xiao appeared and told Manager Wang that if he wanted to threaten Zhong Yan, he should take him instead, because killing Zhou Wan wouldn't solve any problem. But Manager Wang didn't believe him at all, so he immediately overpowered and tied Shi Xiao up too. Right at that moment, Zhou Wan managed to untie herself. When he lost his mind and was about to kill both of them, Jiang Yan showed up just in time and knocked him out. Right after that, the police arrived and arrested Manager Wang. Since Jiang Yan's hand was injured during the rescue, Zhou Wan helped him treat the wound. Seeing that, Shi Xiao started acting clingy again, constantly demanding that Zhou Wan pay attention to and take care of him. After that, he let her know that the supplier who tricked her father years ago had been in an accident and passed away. Zhou Wan couldn't help but feel sad because an important clue was lost, but she also felt relieved that Zhong Yan's crimes were finally about to be brought to light. Right then, Xiang Ling called Zhou Wan for a meeting. She handed her the evidence related to the construction materials factory and the agents, then smiled and said that Zhou Wan was living very well now, even better than her, and she wished her happiness before quietly leaving. The next morning, in the shareholders' meeting, Zhou Wan went public with all the evidence exposing the crimes Zhong Yan had committed, from ruining so many families to causing many people to lose their lives. Faced with undeniable proof, Zhong Yan had absolutely no way out and finally had to face the punishment of the law. Leaving the meeting room, Zhou Wan burst into tears of happiness because she finally got justice for her father. As soon as she saw Shi Xiao waiting outside, she immediately ran and gave him a big hug. After that, Shi Xiao took Zhou Wan to see Grandpa Lu and firmly insisted that he only wanted to be with her for the rest of his life. He declared that the previous agreements between Grandpa Lu and Zhou Wan were no longer valid, and at the same time, he hoped his grandfather wouldn't force him to follow in the same footsteps as the relationship between his mother and Zhong Yan. Looking at the determined eyes of both of them, Grandpa Lu finally couldn't stop them anymore. In another scene, Jiang Fan decided to propose to Gu Meng one more time, hoping their love story would have a perfect ending. He promised to care for her more and not let work make him neglectful like before. Because she still loved Jiang Fan deep down, Gu Meng smiled and gave him a kiss instead of saying yes. When Zhou Wan wanted to go public with their relationship, Xishao immediately took a photo together and posted it on social media, officially announcing their relationship to everyone. Seeing that, Zhou Wan also posted on her WBO to mark her territory. Not only that, Xishao discovered that Zhou Wan had posted photos of the two of them before, but had kept them on private. Only then did Zhou Wan frankly say that she really loved him. Hearing those words, they both smiled happily and shared a sweet kiss. Right after that, Xishao carried Zhou Wan into the house and cooked a meal for her himself. In the evening, Zhou Wan took Xishao to a flower garden and showed him the game machine she had quietly prepared a long time ago, bringing so many beautiful memories of the two of them back to his mind. After that, Zhou Wan gathered all her courage to proactively propose to Xishao, which took him completely by surprise. Faced with her sincere words, Xishao was so moved that he burst into tears because this was the happiest moment of his life. When Zhou Wan asked him if he would agree to marry her, Xishao immediately gave her a passionate kiss and then nodded yes. While Xishao was getting ready to hold his art exhibition, Zhou Wan went to Lan Yu to give an invitation to Kai Lan. There she met Jiang Yan. He said he had quit his job, and at the same time, he decided to let go of all past grudges against Zhong Yan and was preparing to take his mom on a trip abroad. Hearing Jiang Yan's sincere blessings for her, Zhou Wan also smiled and wished that from now on he would live for himself. Xishao used his happiest moments to paint a picture of the girl he loved most deeply. The day the art exhibition officially opened, many art lovers came to visit and admire his works. Zhou Wan quietly looked at each painting. All of them recreated the happy time the two had spent in Beicheng. After that, she accidentally discovered her little bao was hanging on the wall. Following the arrow showing the way, Zhou Wan entered a small room with a fish tank and the dress that Xishao had secretly prepared for her. Right after that, Xishao took Zhou Wan to the abandoned pool where he had worked hard to set up a private art exhibition just for her. The two held hands, slowly looking at each painting. The romantic scene was just like walking into a wedding hall. Right when the fake snow started to fall, Zhou Wan happily clasped her hands to make a wish. At that same moment, Xishao knelt down to propose to her. The scene was as beautiful as something out of a fairy tale, and the intense love of both of them wrote a perfect ending for the story of Cinderella and the arrogant rich kid. After so many storms and trials, they could finally walk side by side, giving each other their most precious love. Right after that, both of them participated in a recording session. In it, Gu Meng played the role of the MC and asked questions about their love story. Xishao shared that before meeting Zhou Wan, his life was extremely dull and stuck. She was the one who pulled him out of the dark spot in his life. In his eyes, Zhou Wan was always a girl who was straightforward, simple and free, happy and brave enough to love and hate. If it weren't for her, there would be no Xishao of today. As for Zhou Wan, she shared that there was a time she hit rock bottom, becoming a person she didn't even like herself, and even failing the person she loved the most. Fortunately, everything changed since Xishao appeared. When Gu Meng asked when they both started liking each other, Xishao smiled and answered it was the summer of 2016. But Zhou Wan surprised everyone when she said she had liked him since 2013, even before Xishao knew she existed. It turns out that year, after getting the results of her grandma's illness, Zhou Wan was completely devastated. It was Xishao who accidentally gave her a tissue to wipe her tears. Since then, she always silently followed the mischievous and rebellious boy from their school days. She once quietly waited at the sports field just to sneak a photo of him, and her heart fluttered again when she saw him standing in the schoolyard, turning on the faucet to wash his face. To Zhou Wan, every time Xishao appeared, it was like a rainbow decorating her gloomy life. She had kept that secret hidden for many years, and not until that fateful summer arrived did she have the chance to confess. And so, the love story of Xishao and Zhou Wan closed with a perfect ending, leaving viewers with a sweet, healing, and emotional romance. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel to look forward to even more great movies.